Chapter 2024. Demonic Blade King is so scary. Needless to say, didn't you see Magic Flute running away? If not for the disparity in strength, would Magic Flute be able to escape? From the looks of it, Magic Flute is actually very smart. Just now on the mountain peak, it was undoubtedly a space domain array. Over 10 spatial tiers exploded in all directions. If Magic Flute was trapped in the space domain, he would be exhausted from running around. I'm afraid he would not even be able to save his life. Demonic Blade King is really powerful. Discussions were everywhere, the 8-star martial artists sighed. Looking at the small mountain peak, they were filled with respect and worship, but also fear and envy. In the crowd, Yao Wandi was among them, slightly raising his head. Yao Wandi's face was filled with pride. He had been here for many years, and had made a few friends, so he was clear about what happened. Others might not know, but he knew. Demonic Blade King was Master Lin Feng. No matter where, Master Lin Feng was the most dazzling one. I will definitely become a super strong martial artist like Master Lin Feng, to protect the clan. Yao Wandi's willpower was firm, his fighting spirit was high. Looking at the small mountain peak, his heart filled with respect. Another 36 years passed. It's here again. Demonic Blade King is testing the power of the domain array again. It's getting scarier every year. Yeah, the last time I saw it, my heart was beating like a drum. If I really fell into the domain array, I'm afraid I would be smashed into pieces. Haha, no need to worry. Although Demonic Blade King's name is not nice, I heard that he is a good person, never killing the innocent, and will even help when he sees injustice. Really? That's impossible, right? Yuro said it, Brother Wandi also mentioned it to me. They all respect Master Lin Feng very much. I think so too. When Demonic Blade King was not around, Magic Flute was arrogant and despotic, temperamental. We could only tremble in fear, unlike now. That's right, it's a pity everyone went their separate ways after reaching the Void Danger Zone. Wait, that's not right. Why do I feel the ground shaking? There seems to be a huge suction coming from outside. Hiss? What a terrifying power. What's going on? Is this Master Demonic Blade King's new move? No, idiot, we hit it. It's the Void Danger Zone. Rumble. With a violent rumble, the entire continent was like a meteor crashing into a planet. The spatial energy fluctuated violently, and the earth quaked. A boundless suction force came from all directions, and the surrounding environment changed instantly. Chi. The natural scenery at the center of the continent instantly changed. The hurricane-like space energy resonated with the shaking of the earth. The space around the core was torn apart. The hurricane-like space energy made ear-piercing noises. Every rotation of the hurricane-like space energy had a strong tearing force. Chi. Bang. Chi. It was as if a sharp saber had slashed across, cutting the surrounding space into pieces. Whoosh. The spatial mezzanine was torn apart. The tearing hurricane, which was originally extremely far away, was like a ferocious beast that had escaped from its cage. It let out a monstrous roar, causing the ground, which was already shaking non-stop, to tremble even more violently. Land number 3 crashed into the void Forbidden Land. However, the 8-star experts on land were only happy for a few seconds before they fell from heaven to hell. Their hearts were cold. As soon as the terrifying tearing hurricane appeared, it directly swept away the 3 nearest 8-star experts. Chi. In an instant, the 3 auras disappeared without a trace. The ultimate treasures, weapons, and storage rings of the 3 experts could be vaguely seen in the hurricane, but nothing else could be seen. Whoosh! The tearing hurricane expanded instantly. The boundless tearing force was no longer restrained at this moment. It suddenly exploded, and with a shocking suction force, it swept away another 3 8-star experts in an instant. Their reaction was too slow. Run! Suddenly, there was a fearful shout, and it shook the hearts of all the 8-star experts. They hated that their parents did not have 2 more legs and could not run fast enough. What a joke! That was a natural phenomenon caused by spatial tearing laws. The strength of Heaven's might was comparable to that of a 9-star expert. Moreover, it was not an ordinary 9-star expert. Fighting against Heaven was simply courting death. The strength of Heaven's might was not something they could withstand. The tearing hurricane, which had just torn apart 3 8-star experts, expanded again and again. Every rotation brought with it a shocking suction force that swept away every expert at the core. It's over. These people are dead meat. Damn it, I don't want to die. Those 8-star experts who were slower to run were pale. They could already feel the terrifying pressure behind them. It was as if a ferocious beast had chased after them, smelling the stench of blood, and wanted to devour them. They could not avoid it at all. Fighting was like hitting a rock with an egg. The Grim Reaper had almost arrived. At this moment, whoosh! A phantom that looked like a bodhisattva appeared in the void. The surrounding space elements spun rapidly and turned into a huge array of Heaven's might. It suddenly fell from the sky and precisely covered the tearing hurricane. Whoosh! Chi! The two forces instantly collided violently. It was the same tearing space, but with different carriers, different powers, and different characteristics. In terms of power, Heaven's might was naturally stronger. However, one was controlled by someone, and the other was just a hard, dead object. Great Brahma! Lin Feng stood in the void and looked down. Yu Rou, Yao Wandi, and other familiar figures were retreating. They were very safe now. After all, the tearing hurricane also had a tearing range. As long as they put some distance between them, they could basically ensure their safety. As expected of a pure tearing space. Powerful. Lin Feng relied on an outstanding treasure to contend with it. The same combination of 100,000 source points. The difference was obvious. The difference between comprehending and not comprehending is very big. Unfortunately, it's too difficult to comprehend space tearing in such a short time. Lin Feng could not even comprehend ordinary space laws, let alone jump to comprehending space tearing. In the entire Origin Awakening list, those who comprehended space tearing were few and far between. The difficulty was too high. However, this did not affect his victory in this battle against nature. Heaven is not invincible. Only I can never defeat myself. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Multiple tearing space tearing, combined with Brahma's wrath, were used together with the Brahma domain. Rumble! 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 Several spatial tearing attacks combined to form an even greater attack power. The continuous bombardment soon weakened the tearing hurricane. Then, like a raised hand blade, the tearing hurricane was directly shattered. Hua, great Brahma retracted. Lin Feng floated in midair and disappeared from the tearing hurricane. The surrounding 8-star experts looked over in shock, as if they were looking up at a god descending. Demonic Saber King. It was him who had saved them. I don't know which void land I've bumped into. Under everyone's grateful gazes, Lin Feng did not stay. He instantly sped off in the direction he sensed the aura. Chapter 2025. A single thought is good. Since it was within his power, there was no harm in helping. Everyone had been neighbors for 100 years in the center of the third continent. There was a bit of fate between them. Sensing Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang's speed, Lin Feng didn't mind. It wouldn't take long. Everyone was trying their best to enter the Forbidden Land as soon as possible. Although they didn't know which Forbidden Land it was, as long as it wasn't one of the largest continents that they had bumped into before, there would always be advantages and benefits to entering it first. For example, finding treasures first, obtaining opportunities first, and so on. As far as we know, the land of Bloody Marrows, Fallen Sparrow Wasteland, and Fallen Marrows Extremis have never been hit by large continents. If we enter first, we will have a great advantage. For example, the Heavens Road Extremis had been hit by the first continent, and the Meteorite Extremis had been hit by the second continent. There were many experts gathered on these two continents, and they had been exploring the heavens road extremis and the meteorite extremis for hundreds of years. Although there would still be opportunities to enter again, it wouldn't be as plentiful as when they first entered. The land of Bloody Marrows and the land of the demonic moon had been hit by the fourth and seventh continents, especially the land of Bloody Marrows. It was the most known void extremis that had been hit by continents 3 times. Of course, as for the smaller continents, it was unknown. Although he was looking forward to it, Lin Feng wasn't worried. No matter which void extremis he entered, he would find a way to get to the land of Bloody Marrows. Arriving early was better than arriving at the right time. Although he was late by 500 years and had stayed on the third continent for more than 100 years, he didn't fall too far behind. There were still many opportunities. The fluctuation is the strongest there. This direction is correct. Lin Feng maintained the speed of light. However, the third continent was quite large. Even at the speed of light, it would take hundreds of days to reach the destination. Compared to the hesitation of those 8-star experts, the 9-star experts' senses were undoubtedly much stronger. Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang were both heading in the right direction. Each of them displayed their abilities and reached the fastest speed of light. Actually, with the strength of a 9-star expert, it was not impossible for them to exceed the speed of light. However, it would cause spatial rifts and vibrations, and they would be attacked by spatial backlash. Their speed would be slowed down, and the gains would not make up for the losses. Soon, Lin Feng had surpassed the group of 8-star experts and was now behind Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang. Warm wing protection. As he sped along, the 3 pairs of black wings behind Lin Feng instantly enveloped his entire body, condensing into an indestructible cocoon form. At this moment, the outstanding supreme treasure Monsieur boat beneath his feet shone brightly, and with a buzz, it directly tore through space. Faster than light. For a martial artist to surpass the speed of light was a very strenuous task. After all, it was going against the rules of heaven and earth. However, it was different for an outstanding cardinal treasure. The Monsieur boat itself contained the Tao of dark matter, so it could reach the speed of light without needing to be driven. If it was driven at full speed, it could surpass the speed of light. Buzz. Sizzle. The backlash of the worldly laws acted on the Mo Xian boat while also attacking Lin Feng. However, the Mo Xian boat itself was an outstanding cardinal treasure, and its defensive capabilities were extremely strong. Lin Feng had the warm wings protecting him, so he was able to withstand the backlash as well. He continued to accelerate. Lin Feng felt that the external pressure was getting stronger and stronger. Not only the warm wings, but even the Mo Xian boat, which was bearing the most pressure, was somewhat strained. The dark energy within his body had been greatly consumed. Fortunately, with the support of the Holy Land Source, he was able to maintain it. I've reached the peak. 8 times the speed of light. Exceeding 2 times the speed of light was fine, but the impact was too great. When one couldn't completely withstand the backlash of the worldly laws and space was being torn apart, it was better to reduce the speed and stabilize it. Moreover, 8 times the speed of light was already very fast. So, Lin Feng was like a light arrow, tearing through space as he shot out. What? It can't be right? Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang were still secretly competing when they suddenly felt the intense energy fluctuations behind them. They were dumbfounded as a light figure overtook them. Soon, it disappeared from their sight. He surpassed the speed of light. Bai Kuang was somewhat stunned. He really hid his strength well. Yan Faoyang sighed. Surpassing the speed of light was a strength that only the top experts on the Origin Awakening list had. Leaving Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang behind traveling at 8 times the speed of light could save a lot of time. However, the consumption of his body was also very large. If not for the origin of the Holy Land, he would only be able to last for a short while. Even with the origin of the Holy Land, the consumption was still very terrifying. Lin Feng quickly reduced his speed to 1.5 times the speed of light and then reduced it 2 more times. Only when he reached 1.3 times the speed of light was he able to maintain it. This is just right. The pressure on my body is also small, and it is enough to pull apart the gap. Lin Feng was very clear that his opponents weren't Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang, but the experts who were already in the void danger zone. 1.3 times the speed of light was enough to help him maintain his lead. After traveling for a few days, Lin Feng left Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang behind. Although they were all 9-star experts, the difference in strength could be very large. After Lin Feng, Yan Faoyang, and Bai Kuang, there was a fourth 9-star expert who was also rushing towards the void danger zone. So, Magic Flute's speed could also reach the speed of light. In fact, there were only a few 9-star experts who couldn't reach the speed of light. That was his chance. If I can find treasures or opportunities to raise my strength, I will definitely tear that bastard into pieces. Ever since he became a 9-star expert, Magic Flute had never been so humiliated. In Origin Awakened Continent, in the extreme Fatal Realm, he was always at the top, making people respect and fear him. When had he ever been humiliated like that? Furthermore, he almost died in the hands of that human. If he didn't even enter the void danger zone, and died in the spatial fragments outside, that would be truly humiliating. Stay away from them, I will enter later. Although Magic Flute hated Lin Feng to the bone, but after this defeat, he became even more cautious. Because he was very clear that his current strength was not as good as Lin Feng. Before his strength was inferior to others, he had to lay low, he had to endure. Once he reached the void danger zone, he would definitely make a comeback. 45 days later, Lin Feng stepped into an area where the spatial fluctuations were extremely intense. Compared to the center of the continent, the spatial fluctuations were even more intense. Endless spatial turbulence enveloped him, and in front of him appeared a vast and boundless horizon, as though it was floating in the void. Void danger zone. Bumping into each other, there would naturally be a border region. At the border region, the fluctuations were the most intense. Lin Feng stepped into the border region, and the pressure around him suddenly increased. The vigorous spatial energy surged in from all directions, and he was in a new spatial world. The trees here were lush, reaching the sky. The astonishing spatial energy was as dense as crystals, forming a whirlpool of bubbles in the air. It was extremely peculiar. Looking at it, the dense greenery, combined with the spatial energy in the air, formed a unique resonance. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This is... Chapter 2026. Fatal Danger Ground. That's right. This is Fatal Danger Ground, one of the 7 fatal void lands. Lin Feng recognized it quickly. The 7 fatal danger grounds each had their own unique characteristic. For example, Bloody Danger Ground was like a bloody hell with a strong smell of blood. For example, Heaven's Road Fatal Danger Ground had paths leading to the sky like a mirage. The characteristic of Fatal Danger Ground was the endless forest of trees. They were densely packed and innumerable. The abundant life energy made the trees tall and straight. There were also many mournful trees in the mournful Deathlands, each of them rare and precious. Fatal Danger Ground got its name from that. There were 2 kinds of fatal danger trees. One was the path of oblivion, and the other was the path of heavy darkness. The trunk contained the fatal danger heart, which was the essence of the fatal danger tree. It was a treasure beyond the level of an excellent true treasure, and its value was equal to that of a pinnacle true treasure. In the contribution tower of the Milky Way human tribe, there was a fatal danger heart. Of the 12 9-star great beings, 1 died and 3 were severely injured before they could kill the fatal danger tree and obtain the fatal danger heart. It was priced at 1.2 million contribution points in the contribution tower, which was equivalent to 12 billion void crystals. In terms of price, it was just a pinnacle true treasure. The price of a pinnacle true treasure was more than 10 billion void crystals. Of course, no race would be willing to give up a pinnacle true treasure in exchange for void crystals. In Fatal Danger Ground, the Fatal Danger Heart was a treasure on the surface, which meant that as long as one had the ability and a bit of luck, one could obtain it. Although there weren't many Fatal Danger trees, 1 or 2 could be found after 1,000 years. Of course, whether one had the ability to kill them was another matter. Fatal Danger trees are special life forms, and they have the ability of a 9-star great being when they grow up. And their talents are amazing. Even the weakest Fatal Danger tree has the ability of the top 50 on the Origin Awakening list, which is equivalent to a mid-level god-level great being. Normally, Fatal Danger trees have the ability of the top 10 to 30 on the Origin Awakening list, which is equivalent to a high-level god-level great being. Lin Feng took a deep breath as he stepped into the Fallen Serpent impasse. The air here was very fresh, making one feel relaxed and happy. It was easy for him to deal with the weakest Fatal Danger tree, but to deal with the normal Fatal Danger trees, he didn't have the ability. What's more, whether or not they could meet was another matter altogether. Although it's not the land of Bloody Marrows, it's still a good place to be in. Lin Feng spread out his aura and didn't sense any other experts. This was to be expected. Every void danger zone was incomparably vast. Land number 3 was already very large. It would take several months to fly from one end to the other at the speed of light. Void danger zones were thousands or even tens of thousands of times larger. Even if they flew at the speed of light for a few years, they still wouldn't be able to reach it. As far as he knew, the Bloody Graveland, Fallen Sparrow Wasteland, and Fallen Sparrow Wasteland had never been hit by a large-scale land before. It would be best if he could enter the land of Bloody Marrows, but there was only a 1 in 7 chance. At the very least, it was an unexplored area. Even if there was a small land, there would only be a dozen or so experts entering this place. Generally speaking, there wouldn't be more than 10. Moreover, the probability of there being a 9-star expert is very small. Lin Feng's gaze swept over the surroundings as he looked around. There were a lot of treasures in the Fallen Leaf Land. Compared to the unexplored land of Bloody Marrows and Fallen Sparrow Wasteland, the Fallen Leaf Land had the most treasures on the surface. This was due to the unique characteristics of the Fallen Leaf Land. There was an endless sea of trees. Although trees were different from flowers and fruits, and very few could bear fruits of heaven and earth, there were always exceptions. Especially since the Fallen Leaf Land was too big and there were too many trees. Even if there was only a 1 in 100 million chance, the number of fruits of heaven and earth would be innumerable. However, the trees here were all alive and had a simple consciousness. There was a price to pay for plucking their fruits of heaven and earth, and that was battle. I arrived a dozen or so days earlier than Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang. By the time they arrived, the fruits of heaven and earth in this area were already empty. Lin Feng smiled. Those who arrived first would always get benefit. Flying at the speed of light, Lin Feng followed his sixth sense to search for the fruits of heaven and earth. Soon, he found something. A jade-colored fruit of heaven and earth was curved like a banana. It had red spots and was full of energy. 3. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. 1 big fruit and 2 small fruit. They were the essence of the jade-colored tree in front of him. Whoosh, flapping his warm wings, Lin Feng held the demon-perishing blade and attacked directly. Gulp. Lin Feng sat under the broken jade-colored tree and directly swallowed the largest jade-colored banana fruit. It was sweet and refreshing, and instantly, rich spatial energy gushed out like a tide. So big. Lin Feng was shocked. The black vortex was already spinning rapidly, absorbing spatial energy. The fruits of heaven and earth contained rich life energy for the body to absorb. It also had good spatial energy. Lin Feng felt comfortable and smiled. He had gained a lot. This one, if sold at the Tsang Dragon auction house, would be worth at least a few 100 million void crystals. There are also 2 small ones, estimated to be around 50 million void crystals. He absorbed the big one first because the first absorption effect was the most significant. The big fruits of heaven and earth increased the most. The void land was indeed worthy of being called a void land. Any random treasure he picked up was more than what he got from the number 3 land. Of course, this was only the fruits of heaven and earth produced by an 8-star fruit of heaven and earth fruit tree. If it was from a 9-star fruit of heaven and earth, it would be even more plentiful. I just broke through to 9-star and was worried that I didn't have enough fruits of heaven and earth to strengthen my body. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. He was different from other experts. Because his foundation was solid enough, every time he broke through, the hunger of his body would be greatly increased, far surpassing other experts of the same level. The upper limit was higher. Therefore, he needed more fruits of heaven and earth. The void land was exactly what he needed. If he had such a harvest as soon as he entered, he believed that his future gains would be even greater. Let's continue. Lin Feng began to explore again, day after day. Although the void land was big, the energy was still concentrated. It was like a huge mountain. The closer to the top of the mountain and the center of the void land, the more abundant and powerful the energy was. Generally, the space fragments would hit close to the center of the void land and would not deviate too far. Because the magnetic field energy here was the strongest and the attraction force was the strongest, the space fragments would be affected by the magnetic field and hit close to the center of the void land. Therefore, the center of the void land had the most fruit of heaven and earth. These 10 days were the best time for Lin Feng to enjoy alone. On the first day alone, he had harvested more than 10 fruits of heaven and earth. In just 4 days, he had harvested 50 fruits of heaven and earth. These fruits of heaven and earth were worth hundreds of millions of void crystals. 50 of them were equivalent to 10 billion void crystals. Although the efficiency decreased a little after that, on the 10th day, Lin Feng had harvested more than 100 fruits of heaven and earth near the center of the impact site. The 15th day, whoosh, whoosh, 2 figures arrived at the same time with excited expressions on their faces. Chapter 2027. It's the fallen venomous impasse. Yan Faoyang's eyes lit up. Great! Bai Kuang was overjoyed. They were different from Lin Feng. Lin Feng had the blood-devouring token, but they didn't. The blood-devouring land, the fallen sparrow wasteland, and the fallen venomous impasse were the 3 unexplored void extremities. They hoped to encounter the fallen venomous impasse as the hidden treasures and opportunities were similar in every void extremity. However, the fallen venomous impasse was the best of the 7 void extremities. Even without luck, one could easily earn billions of void crystals here. This was because they were the only 9-star experts who had arrived here. Oh no! Yan Faoyang's heart trembled as he revealed a worried expression. Bai Kuang also reacted and looked at Yan Faoyang hesitantly. How long before us did Demonic Blade King arrive? A few days? Yan Faoyang looked at Bai Kuang with uncertainty. Or a dozen days? Bai Kuang took a deep breath, his face slightly pale. I don't know. I hope there are still some heaven and earth fruits in this area. Yan Faoyang smiled bitterly. Although he said so, he knew the possibility was very small. In 15 days, he had earned nearly 30 billion void crystals. Lin Feng was very satisfied. Most 9-star experts who entered the chaotic void couldn't earn more than 10 billion void crystals in one reincarnation. However, he had already earned 30 billion void crystals in half a month. His luck was very good. First of all, land number 3 was the last to arrive. Most of the 9-star experts had entered other void extremities on lands number 1 and number 2. It was a freak combination of factors. Arriving late had its benefits. Secondly, they had entered the fallen venomous impasse, which had the most treasures on the surface. Finally, because he was much faster than Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang, he had enjoyed the 15 days alone. Otherwise, they would have only obtained 1/3 of the treasures. In the beginning, I had the most treasures, but it gradually decreased. Lin Feng also knew that when a large number of 8-star experts arrived, the food would be divided among the pack of wolves. Void crystals are useless to me. The heaven and earth fruit is the most important thing to improve my strength and foundation. Lin Feng searched while swallowing and digesting the heaven and earth fruit. His body continued to improve and strengthen, walking on the path of perfection. However, after the increase in the upper limit of his body from 8-star to 9-star, the amount of energy required was too much. The heaven and earth fruit, which was worth only 30 billion void crystals, was only 1/10 of that amount. Because there are many fruits of heaven and earth, the effects will decrease if you absorb too many of the same kind. Of the same type of heaven and earth fruit, the second fruit's effect was reduced by 50%, the third fruit's effect was reduced by 10%, and the fourth and fifth fruit's effect was reduced by less than 10%. This kind of absorption was very wasteful. Let's discuss it with them. Lin Feng pondered. Not a single one. The demonic Blade King really plundered everything clean. Yan Faoyang smiled bitterly. After searching for 10 days, he didn't find anything. They were all trees that didn't bear heaven and earth fruit. During this time, he discovered many dead trees that were still alive. It was obvious that he had died not long ago. With a single glance, Yan Faoyang knew that this was definitely the work of the demonic Saber King. There was even a 9-star heaven and earth fruit tree among them. Apart from the demonic Saber King, who else could do something like this? Why didn't they leave some leftovers? Yan Faoyang wanted to cry but had no tears. There was nothing he could do. It was their fault for being too slow. Everyone had discovered the void impasse at the same time, but he had been slower than Lin Feng by more than 10 days. Opportunity didn't wait for anyone. Suddenly, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him, giving Yan Faoyang a fright. Just as he was about to attack, he discovered that the newcomer was someone he knew. It was the demonic Blade King, Lin Feng, whom he had been talking about. "Brother Liang," Lin Feng greeted him with a smile. "Brother Lin." Yan Faoyang smiled bitterly. He looked around and said, "You acted really quickly." "I'm sorry." Lin Feng smiled. Yan Faoyang sighed. "It can't be helped. You're indeed more skilled." "Brother Liang, you're exaggerating. We've only just entered the Fallen Serpent danger zone, so we still have time. I've only explored the surrounding area." Lin Feng gestured, indicating that he had explored the area in a circle. Yan Faoyang's eyes lit up. Okay. Knowing that Lin Feng had explored the area would save him a lot of time. "How about we make a deal, Brother Liang?" Lin Feng said. "Let's meet in 100 years at the border of the collision zone and exchange fruits of heaven and earth. What do you think?" Yan Faoyang was a smart person. He smiled. "No problem. It's a good thing." Lin Feng nodded. "Then I'll go find Bai Kuang." Yan Faoyang said, "Just the 3 of us?" Lin Feng said, "There's no point in having more." Yan Faoyang nodded and smiled. "Okay, then we'll meet in 100 years. I'll take my leave first, Brother Lin." After knowing that Lin Feng had explored the area, he couldn't wait. "See you then." Lin Feng said goodbye to Yan Faoyang with a smile. It was a win-win situation. Although he had obtained many fruits of heaven and earth, it was just the beginning. The void impasse was so big that they could only explore the tip of the iceberg in 100 years. Working together was the best choice. This piece of meat was too big for one person to swallow. Moreover, his appetite was limited. He only needed to fill his body with 9 stars as soon as possible. After 100 years of exploration, they could take out the second or third fruits of heaven and earth to exchange. This way they could bring out the best effect of the fruits of heaven and earth. The 3 9-star experts who entered the void impasse first would definitely get the most. Moreover, there were usually only 2 or 3 fruits of heaven and earth of the same type, so there was no need to have more people. 3 was just right. Everyone would exchange to maximize the benefit. I should be able to collect most of the fruits of heaven and earth in 100 years. Lin Feng moved and left. After finding Yan Faoyang, Lin Feng went to find Bai Kuang. It wasn't hard to find him. After all, they were all in the same area at the beginning. Bai Kuang was more than happy to make friends with Lin Feng. Why not? The 3 of them split up to explore, which saved them a lot of blind spots. After completing the agreement, Lin Feng started a new round of exploration. This round was longer, and the area they explored was wider. It was also the biggest round of exploration. 100 years was the publicly acknowledged time to explore the void impasse. The first 100 years were the most rewarding. Even if they explored for another 1,000 years, it wouldn't be comparable to the first 100 years. On one hand, there were more people. On the other hand, there were fewer treasures and areas to explore. To Lin Feng, as long as everything went smoothly, he would be able to accumulate fruits of heaven and earth in 100 years. After exchanging with Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang, he was confident that he could fill his 9-star body. He would be able to display his current combat strength to the limit. If my body is in perfect condition, coupled with great Brahma and my current combat strength, I should be able to enter the top 20 of the Origin Awakening list. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. Chapter 2028. Lin Feng would search for the fruit of heaven and earth during the 100-year promise. At the same time, he would conduct a thorough search of the fallen serpent impasse. With his soul-sensing ability and the 6th sense of the heaven's eye cultivation, he would be able to sense the existence of opportunities and treasures. Lastly, he would search for the location of the Void Gate. Every fallen serpent impasse had a Void Gate that led to another fallen serpent impasse. Of course, the premise was that he could find it. After all, the fallen serpent impasse was so big, and the turbulent void had only been open for an era at most. Even if he searched at the speed of light, he might not be able to search the entire fallen serpent impasse. Lin Feng did not care about the other fallen serpent impasse, but he had to go to the Bloody Corpse land. Holding the Bloody Corpse token was equivalent to holding the key to an opportunity. It would be a pity if he missed it. Not only do I have to go, but I have to enter as early as possible. Lin Feng was very clear in his heart that 7 blood main tokens meant that 7 experts could enter. Basically, all of them were at least at the 9-star realm. If he was late, he was afraid that he would miss out on the treasure. The Void Gate, the turbulent void, was changing with every reincarnation cycle. Not only the fallen serpent impasse itself, but also the Void Gate. Therefore, even if there was a record of the Void Gate's location, it was no longer accurate, not to mention that it was very difficult to find a specific place in such a vast fallen serpent impasse. It required a certain amount of luck. Where the Void Gate is, the space is in the shape of a vortex, and it sinks inwards. Lin Feng kept moving forward at the speed of light, and his eyes swept across every space clearly. Because the Void Gate was connected to another fallen serpent impasse, it was like a closed house. If a gate was opened, all the energy would rush toward it. It was the same for space energy. And it often shows some special phenomena with the characteristics of other fallen serpent impasse. Before entering the turbulent void, Lin Feng had done some homework. Although the Milky Way's human clan did not have many records of the turbulent void, they had the basic content, such as identifying and searching for the Void Gate. This was not a secret, and basically all the major forces knew about it. Just like the heavenly meteor chaotic flow Forbidden Land, the Void Gate where it was located contained a strong space principle. Space elements were chaotic, and the fluctuations were violent as if it was the Great Destruction. It was like a place with a full moon. Strands of devil chi could be felt from the Void Gate where it was located. One could even see the reflection of the black full moon. It was also like the Heavenly Road impasse. Each and every mystical heavenly road existed like a mirage. Stepping on the heavenly road was like stepping into the great Tao. But no matter what kind of Jedi they were, they all shared a common characteristic. Space fluctuated. Unlike the stable space of the fallen Serpent Land, as long as the Void Gate existed, space would fluctuate. Although perception is very important, it still depends more on luck. However, searching for the Void Gate requires strength in numbers. This was another reason why Lin Feng, Yan Faoyang, and Bai Kuang had joined forces. If he were to search alone, even if his senses were better, his speed was still at the speed of light, and his range was only so big. It was possible to travel faster than the speed of light, but the consumption was too great. This was a void danger zone, and the space here was even more stable. It was even harder to travel faster than the speed of light, and the backlash was even more intense. Moreover, even if he traveled at 1.3 times the speed of light, it would be more difficult to sense the Void Gate because the originally stable space would be destroyed. The loss outweighed the gain. It was different if they joined forces. Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang's senses might not be as strong as his, but they were after all 9-star experts, and their speed was also at the speed of light. Moreover, sensing the Void Gate did not require outstanding senses. With the three of them working together, even if the efficiency was not 3 times, it was at least 2 times. As for the 8-star experts, there was no need to join forces. Unless they cultivated the path of light or the path of dark matter, it would be difficult for them to reach the speed of light. It was already good enough that they could maintain 1/10 of the speed of light. If they traveled at the same speed, the areas explored by the 8-star experts were basically explored by the 9-star experts, unless they were extremely lucky and happened to find the areas left by the 9-star experts. But this possibility was too small. If Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang find the Void Gate, they can't wait to tell me. Lin Feng smiled. Without him, there would be one less person to share the meat with. After all, they did not have the blood-devouring token. 3 days after Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang arrived. Swish! A black figure, bringing along demonic aura, arrived. There were deep demonic runes on his navy blue skin, and a pair of purplish-black eyes shot out endless darkness and hatred. His arrival caused the entire area to turn into darkness. Haha, very good. Fatal danger zone. Magic Flute stretched out his demon bony hands and moved his skull, letting out a terrifying sound, his eyes shooting out endless murderous intent. Among the 7 great danger zones, the one he wanted to come to the most was the Fatal Danger Zone, because it was the most suitable place for him. Moreover, he had already made thorough preparations for the Fatal Danger Zone. I only need 1 Fatal Danger Zone Yuan heart, and my strength will be able to complete the transformation. Even if I can't enter the top 30 of the Origin Awakening list, it will be close. At that time, the humiliation that bastard gave me, I will return it 100-fold. So, Magic Flute sped forward. Chilling laughter echoed in the endless forest, straight to the clouds. After enduring for so long, Magic Flute finally released the resentment in his heart and saw hope. After Magic Flute, the 8-star martial artists of the Third Land also arrived, including Yao Wandi, Yu Rou, and the others. Although their strength was far from the 9-star martial artists, since they entered the chaotic void, they naturally had the heart to succeed or die for a cause. In the endless eras, many of the 8-star martial artists who broke through in the chaotic void rarely did so in the space secret realms. To succeed, one must first pay the price. Although the void danger zone was dangerous, opportunity and danger coexisted. How could the 9-star martial artist's path be so easy to achieve? At this time, Lin Feng had long since left the intersection of the collision zone. The entire area had been swept clean. Fortunately, the fallen serpent danger zone was large enough that endless trees could be seen everywhere, so there was no shortage of resources. However, compared to the beginning, the efficiency was like heaven and earth. 10 years passed quickly. The harvest was not as good as the first half-month, But little by little, Lin Feng was calm. As time passed, 100 years of searching for treasures was enough to obtain a large amount of heaven and earth fruit. At that time, after exchanging with Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang, more than 80% of the heaven and earth fruits in the fatal danger zone would be complete. My luck seems to be very average. Lin Feng did not have much hope. Anyway, he was looking everywhere for the heaven and earth fruit. If there was one, he would take it. If there was none, he would continue to look. His mood suddenly became cheerful, and he did not care about the gains and losses. There were times when one's luck was bad, and there were times when one's luck was good. After 100 years of accumulation, the total amount would not be much different. And, just as he was bored to death, Lin Feng suddenly stopped in his tracks. Slightly surprised, his eyes suddenly lit up. This is? Chapter 2029. A strong spatial fluctuation. A void gate. This was the first thought that popped up in his mind. Then, he shook his head because this spatial fluctuation did not seem to be the same as the void gate. One was absorption, as if swallowing the surrounding spatial energy, forming a whirlpool. The one before him was like ripples forming in the space, as if breathing, causing the space to shake. Moreover, other than the spatial fluctuation, he could also faintly feel the presence of darkness. If I'm not wrong, I should have encountered a blood death tree. Lin Feng smiled. No matter what he encountered, there would be some benefit. As the landmark of the blood death tree, it could be said to be a very good treasure. The blood death heart was comparable to a pinnacle true treasure. Whoosh! Lin Feng's figure moved, and he immediately went toward the source of the feeling. That's the blood death tree. Lin Feng looked into the distance, his eyes shining. Huge. Incomparably huge. The crown of the tree covered the sky, and each leaf was bigger than his body. The thick trunk was like a powerful warrior, and each vein was like a muscle, containing endless dark power. Deeply rooted in the ground, the trunk of the blood death tree was pitch black, but the leaves were pure green, which was very mysterious. Judging from the width of the trunk, the height, and the presence, it can barely be considered a powerful blood death tree. Lin Feng stared closely. The blood death tree was divided into 4 levels. Weak blood death tree, ordinary blood death tree, powerful blood death tree, and blood death tree king. Among them, the weak blood death tree was a newly grown blood death tree, which was like a human child. Its strength was naturally weak. Not to mention a 9-star elite, some weak blood death trees that had just grown could even be killed by an 8-star elite. However, this was not very useful. Such a weak blood death tree could not form a blood death heart, so killing it would be a waste. The ordinary blood death tree was a fully grown blood death tree. Because the blood death tree was a special life form, its bloodline was very powerful. The ordinary blood death tree was a mid-level god-level elite, which was equivalent to the 30th to 50th place on the Origin Awakening list. Elites of the same level on the Origin Awakening list could not kill it. Because the life force of the Murloc tree was too strong, and it was located in the Murloc Forbidden Land, its life force was strong and its recovery speed was fast. Therefore, unless one's strength far exceeded the Murloc trees, it would be impossible to kill it even if one tried their best. The powerful blood rain trees were experts among the blood rain trees. They were equivalent to the elite experts of the human race, and their strength was equivalent to a high-level deity. They were ranked between 10th and 30th on the Origin Awakening list. Unless a powerhouse in the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list paid a sufficient price, it would be impossible to kill such a powerful bloodthirsty tree. As for the bloodthirsty tree king, it was an even more legendary existence. Even the top 10 powerhouses of the Origin Awakening list would have to take a detour if they encountered it. However, unless one's luck was extremely bad, it was impossible to encounter the Murloc Tree King. That was because there was only one Murloc Tree King in the chaotic void. Oh! Lin Feng frowned slightly. Based on his observation, The aura of the murong tree before him was just right to be classified as a powerful murong tree. Or rather, it could be considered as a peak existence among ordinary murong trees. He was confident that he could defeat an ordinary Murakami tree, but he was powerless against a powerful one. However, it would be a pity if he missed the Liao Yuanshin. The stronger the murong tree was, the higher the grade of the Liao Yuanshin would be. The Liao Yuanshin in the Milky Way's human clan contribution tower was only an ordinary Liao Yuanshin. Compared to the Liao Yuanshin of the powerful murong tree before him, the difference was huge. With my strength, even if I can't kill it, I should have no problem keeping myself alive. Lin Feng's gaze gradually sharpened. If he left without giving it a try, he would be too cowardly. Just nice. After my strength improved, I haven't tried to fight with my full strength. I'll use it to test my saber. 2 sabers appeared in Lin Feng's hands at the same time. The light god mark and the dark god mark intertwined and started to fuse. Even when he fought against Magic Flute, he only used 1 saber because that was enough. However, right now, he had no choice but to give it his all. Lin Feng's thunderous battle intent suddenly exploded. Light and darkness fused together. Under the tyrannical power of his bloodline, he completely erupted with tyrannical power. This was the first time he had truly unleashed a powerful attack after cultivating the Thousand Heaven Path. He went straight for the powerful murong tree, as if he was challenging the heavens. Boom! Pung! Boom! Rumble! The great battle almost destroyed the entire surrounding area. Not even a blade of grass grew. After 3 days and 3 nights of battle, Lin Feng was clearly exhausted. He fought until the sky turned dark. If not for the fact that he had absorbed the source of the Holy Land and merged it with his bloodline, he would have used up all his strength. Even so, he was still unable to win. Huff, huff, Lin Feng took deep breaths as he looked at the powerful murong tree that was already in ruins. The dark black tree trunk was in ruins and many parts were corroded by the light energy. The leaves were all over the ground and the branches were bare. The tree trunk trembled violently as if it was heavily injured. However, it was able to continuously absorb the surrounding energy to replenish itself. Although the huge tree roots made it unable to move freely, it was able to absorb the energy of heaven and earth endlessly. Its recovery speed was extremely fast. Its life force is too strong. Lin Feng felt a sense of helplessness as he laughed bitterly. After attacking for 3 days and 3 nights, every time he thought that he was about to win, the powerful murong tree would always be able to survive. With its strong life force and strong recovery speed, it was waiting for opportunities to counterattack from all directions. It was also depleting his strength. With the geographical advantage and the innate ability of the murong tree, it was impossible to kill it. Especially when his light energy was depleted, the probability of that happening would be even lower. After that, instead of saying that he wanted to kill it, it was more like he was practicing his sword skills. There's no other way. Lin Feng retreated. Although he had failed in this hunt, he had figured out the strength of this powerful murong tree. It was not impossible to kill it. The fusion of light and darkness has improved to another level. Either the divine pattern of light has broken through to the 4th stage, or Blade's End has reached 100% perfection, or... Lin Feng was well aware of the difference in strength between him and the murong tree. Overall, they were on par. He was the main attacker while the murong tree was the main defender. His movement technique was stronger, and the murong tree's defense and life force were stronger. It's all thanks to the origin of the Holy Land. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to fight it for so long. Lin Feng retreated from the powerful murong tree's attack range and recovered his vitality. Once he left the attack range, the battle was over. This was because his recovery speed was not on the same level as the powerful murong trees. The murong tree had huge roots to absorb and strong life force to recover. It only needed a short while to recover. I'll try again after 100 years when my body is strengthened. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Since he could not kill it, there was no point in wasting time. It could not run away anyway, so it could only wait for him. Although its recovery speed was shocking, its strength was increasing very slowly. As for himself, he would soon have an increase in strength. Although it was not very big, with the origin of the Holy Land, it might increase his chances. When the time comes, it should be 30% to 40%. Lin Feng glanced at the powerful Murong tree again. He left the secret light guardians behind and left. Chapter 2030. Lin Feng wasn't too surprised that he found the bloodthirsty tree. After all, this was expected. There were many bloodthirsty trees in the bloodthirsty impasse. 8-star great beings couldn't find them because they were too slow and their sensing range was too small. Basically, if a 9-star great being stayed in the bloodthirsty impasse for a long time, they would be able to find 1 or 2 bloodthirsty trees. The only difference was the length of time. However, finding them didn't mean they could deal with them. Even the great beings ranked 10th to 30th on the Origin Awakening list, who had the power of a high-level god-level great being, might not be able to kill an ordinary bloodthirsty tree that only had the power of a mid-level god-level great being. Its size was too big, its vitality was too strong, and its defense was too terrifying. The weakest point of the bloodthirsty trees was their attack power. Their strengths were their vitality and control power, as well as their recovery ability due to their geographical advantage. Actually, finding a powerful bloodthirsty tree is considered good luck or not? Lin Feng smiled and traveled at light speed. If he had encountered an ordinary bloodthirsty tree, he would have already obtained a bloodthirsty origin heart. But then again, the value of a powerful serpent elemental heart is much higher than that of an ordinary one. Lin Feng was quite interested in the bloodthirsty origin heart. This was a cultivation treasure. There were only 2 types of bloodthirsty origin hearts, the path of oblivion and the path of heavy darkness. Both were helpful for increasing one's power. An ordinary bloodthirsty origin heart is equivalent to an ordinary pinnacle true treasure. In terms of money, it's about 10 to 15 billion void crystals. A powerful bloodthirsty origin heart is more valuable. This powerful bloodthirsty tree that I encountered is the best among ordinary bloodthirsty trees. It should have just formed a powerful bloodthirsty origin heart. If I can kill it, it will be the same as killing a powerful bloodthirsty tree that has been formed for a long time. Similarly, powerful bloodthirsty trees could have a huge difference in power. For example, the difference between the 11th and 30th place on the Origin Awakening list was more than 10 times. However, they were both high-level god-level great beings. It was the same for powerful bloodthirsty trees, but the value of the powerful bloodthirsty origin heart was the same. There were only 3 grades of bloodthirsty origin hearts: ordinary, powerful, and supreme. Supreme was out of the question. There was only one bloodthirsty tree king. No one could kill it. In other words, the powerful bloodthirsty origin heart was the best grade. 100 years. If 100 years doesn't work, then 1,000 years. In any case, the void gate to the land of bloody marrows isn't something that can be found in a short time. Through the secretive light guardian, Lin Feng was able to clearly lock onto the location of this powerful Murong tree. The secretive light guardian itself was an 8-star existence, and it didn't have any aura of life. As long as it didn't take the initiative to cause trouble, it could basically protect itself in the relatively peaceful Murong treacherous land. The fallen serpent danger zone was simply too vast. Traveling at light speed for an entire era would take more than that. Without a map, it would be difficult to find it again if they traveled too far away. Lock onto the position. Since that was the case, he naturally wouldn't miss it. It was foolproof. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. He continued to search for the fruits of heaven and earth leisurely. After all, the harvest at the beginning was the greatest. Although it was far from the first half of the month, he had enjoyed the fruits alone. If every expert who entered the fallen serpent impasse had such a harvest, they would have rushed over like a flock of ducks. An ordinary 9-star powerhouse would only earn about 10 billion void crystals per reincarnation, which was already considered good. 10 billion void crystals was enough to buy a top-grade excellent true treasure. After all, the danger level of the fallen Zephyr danger zone wasn't that high, it just lacked the tempering effect. 30 years, 50 years, time flew. Lin Feng's harvest was also decreasing year by year. After that, he didn't encounter any other Morong trees. There weren't many of them, so it was useless no matter how wide the detection range was. It's almost time to go back. I wonder how Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang are doing. If there aren't any other 9-star powerhouses in the next 100 years, the three of us will act separately. Basically, their harvest won't be much less than mine. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. The first to enter the fallen serpent danger zone undoubtedly had a great advantage. The three of them would share a large piece of meat. The 9-star powerhouses who entered later would be lucky if they could get 1/10 of the harvest. Unless they stayed long enough and searched far away from the central area, the efficiency would be very low. At the collision junction, the space energy here was abnormally chaotic. A large piece of space debris was crashing straight toward them. It was no joke. No matter how large and stable the fallen serpent danger zone was, it would take a long time to repair it. Most of the powerhouses who entered from the third land had already left, so the place was empty. Firstly, as the first place to arrive, they had already dug 3 feet into the ground and couldn't find any more treasures. Secondly, the powerhouses who should have entered had already entered. The remaining powerhouses of the third land knew that they were weak and didn't intend to enter the fallen serpent danger zone. Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang had arrived a little earlier than Lin Feng and were waiting. From the smiles on their faces, one could see that they were very happy. They had a lot of harvest. Although Lin Feng had swept through the central area alone at first, the fallen serpent danger zone was huge and had accumulated abundant resources. The three of them were the earliest 9-star powerhouses to arrive, so they had a clear division of labor and saved a lot of time. Brother Liang, you have an excellent treasure to help you search. You should have more harvests than me, right? Bai Kuang laughed. Yan Faoyang smiled casually. It's okay. Collecting fruits of heaven and earth mainly depends on luck and speed. You and I can both reach the speed of light, so it's up to luck. Bai Kuang smiled. I'm not afraid to be honest. The harvest in the past 100 years is worth more than 10 billion void crystals. Yan Faoyang didn't seem surprised. He nodded and said, Me too. They looked at each other and smiled. They knew the reason. First, everyone had a clear division of labor. You go east and I go west. They had nothing to do with each other. Second, and most importantly, there didn't seem to be any other 9-star experts apart from them and Lin Feng. There should be another magic flute. Bai Kuang muttered. Yan Faoyang said. He's still avoiding the demonic Blade King, so he can't be very efficient. Bai Kuang laughed in his heart and mocked. Who asked him to be so blind to provoke the demonic Blade King? He doesn't know his own strength. Yan Faoyang said. He's used to being arrogant and domineering. Now that he's joined forces with the Void Dragon race, even 9-star powerhouses stronger than him have to be wary of him. Plus, the demonic Blade King didn't have any reputation before. Who would have thought that he's so powerful? Yan Faoyang sighed. He had seen the demonic Blade King's strength with his own eyes, and it was amazing. A human youth who had just entered the 9-star realm was so terrifying. Yes, the demonic Blade King is really amazing. Bai Kuang also sighed. His harvest in the past 100 years is much more than the two of us. Isn't it better to have more? We're in an alliance. It's beneficial to both of us. Yan Faoyang smiled. That's right. Bai Kuang laughed. His eyes suddenly flashed as he looked into the distance. He's here just as we talked about the demonic Blade King. He's on time. Yen Faoyang smiled. Chapter 2031. Brother Liang, Brother Quang, how have you been? Lin Feng walked over with a smile. Just by looking at the smiles on their faces, one could tell that they had gained a lot in the past 100 years. Haha, Demonic Blade King, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you. Although the three of them were not close friends, they had come from continent number 3 together, so they could be considered to have gone through thick and thin together. Furthermore, they had joined forces to search for the fruits of heaven and earth, so they felt quite close to each other. However, it was only a combination of interests. After not seeing each other for 100 years, they naturally had a lot to talk about. Lin Feng was also happy to listen to the two talk about what they had seen and heard about the fatal danger zone. It might be useful to him, such as the ordinary fatal danger trees, the location of the void gate, and so on. However, it was clear that the two of them did not have much luck. Apart from some strange heaven and earth fruits and some dangerous places, there was nothing else. Speaking of which, 100 years was indeed a little short. After exchanging some pleasantries, the three of them each took out some fruits of heaven and earth that they did not need to exchange. These heaven and earth fruits were worth at least tens of millions of void crystals, so they were not useless. Even if their effects were weakened, they were still heaven and earth fruit. However, who wouldn't be willing to exchange for a fruit of heaven and earth that they hadn't eaten before? One might only have a 10% effect. But it was 100% effective. Brother Lin, you have so many heaven and earth fruits, Bai Kuang exclaimed. Yen Faoyang also looked enviously at Lin Feng. From the number of fruits of heaven and earth they had taken out, it could be seen that Lin Feng had taken out more than all of them combined. They were both 9-star experts, and they both traveled at the speed of light. How could the gap be so huge? Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang were both surprised and suspicious, but they didn't dare to ask. In fact, even Lin Feng himself was slightly surprised. But he immediately came to a sudden understanding. Firstly, his detection range was larger than the two of them, and secondly, his sixth sense was extremely good, so finding treasures would naturally be twice the result with half the effort. It was comparable to the total harvest of Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang. Taking what they needed, the three of them quickly completed the exchange. There was no need for every fruit of heaven and earth to be of equal value. They only needed to look at the total value. Lin Feng had almost exchanged for both Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang. The amount of fruits of heaven and earth he had harvested was equivalent to a person searching for 1,000 years in the tragic impasse. After all, many fruits of heaven and earth were obtained repeatedly in the end. Right now, the three of them had already collected 80% of the fruits of heaven and earth in the land of despair. As for the remaining 20%, they were either unlucky enough to encounter them, or they were simply too rare. The one with the most harvest was Lin Feng. However, Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang had also obtained quite a bit. It was much better than collecting the heaven and earth fruits alone. The three of them worked together to help each other, each taking what they needed. Brother Lin, you want to go to other forbidden lands? Yen Faoyang was surprised. Lin Feng nodded. In the end, the danger level of the Fallen Serpent Lands is not high enough, so the effect of the training is average. Of course, Lin Feng wouldn't tell Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang that he had the blood-devouring token. It was hard to tell what was in a person's heart. After all, it was just an alliance of interests, not true friends. With Brother Lin's strength, it's enough for you to enter the most dangerous place, the heavenly meteor turbulence. Bai Kuang laughed. Lin Feng smiled. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Each of the 7 forbidden lands had its own characteristics, and the degree of danger was also different. For example, the Fallen Serpent Lands were relatively safe. 9-star experts wouldn't be in danger here. Of course, the premise was that they didn't provoke the Fallen Serpent trees. However, the dominating creatures in the other forbidden lands weren't as easy to bully as the Fallen Serpent trees. For example, The blood-devouring beasts in the bloody serpent lands were violent, cruel, and extremely bloodthirsty. The strongest blood-devouring beast could even kill the top 10 experts of the Origin Awakening list. Another example would be the most dangerous meteorite turbulence impasse. Just the endless meteorites falling from the sky could smash a bunch of 9-star experts to death, not to mention all kinds of special lifeforms running amok inside. It was like a chaotic battlefield of slaughter. If 10 9-star experts entered, it would be good if 2 of them could come out alive. Yen Faoyang nodded slightly and smiled. Brother Lin is special. The other 9-star experts are scrambling for the fallen serpent lands. They can't find it even if they want to, but Brother Lin likes to go to dangerous places. What did 9-star experts enter the turbulence void for? There were only 3 reasons: treasures, inheritances, opportunities, and training. There were many treasures in the fallen serpent lands. On the surface, there was a super treasure like the fallen serpent origin heart, which was comparable to a pinnacle true treasure. As long as you had the strength, you could get it. After all, the fallen serpent trees wouldn't run around. The treasures and inheritances in the dark depended on luck. Every fallen serpent lands were similar. There might be more heavenly meteor turbulence land and heaven's road land, but the chances were low. Generally speaking, 9-star experts came for the first 2. They only had 1 life. Why would they take a difficult and rugged road when there was a better one? Brother Lin, don't worry. If I find a void gate, I will inform you. Bai Kuang patted his chest. Like Yen Faoyang, he didn't plan to go anywhere else. Just by casually searching the fallen serpent lands, they could get a lot of fruits of heaven and earth, each worth tens of millions of void crystals. Especially now that they were the only ones enjoying it, where else could they find such a good thing? If Lin Feng left, it would be good for them too. Me too. Yen Faoyang smiled. Then let's say goodbye. See you in 500 years. Okay, see you then. Lin Feng then said goodbye to the 2. Since the 3 of them had joined forces, there was no conflict of interest at the moment, so they continued. Although the efficiency of searching for fruits of heaven and earth was decreasing year by year, they could still get a lot. Once in 100 years was too frequent. 500 years was about the same. Damn it. Are there any other 9-star powerhouses? Why are there so few fruits of heaven and earth in the fallen serpent lands? Magic Flute gritted his teeth, his face ferocious. Although he knew that he had entered a little later than Lin Feng and the other 2, this did not have much of an impact. With the 4 of them being 9-star masters, he should have been able to harvest a lot, but after more than 100 years, Magic Flute's harvest was only less than 2 billion void crystals. It was far from what he had expected. Pay. My luck is so bad. Magic Flute didn't know that because of the alliance of Lin Feng and the other 2, the entire area was divided like a cake, each taking 1/3. He followed the rhythm of the 3, others eating meat. He could only drink soup. If he entered the area where Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang were, his harvest might be more. However, the direction he chose was the area where Lin Feng was. His harvest was naturally smaller. Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang's harvest in 100 years easily exceeded 10 billion, but Magic Flute didn't even reach 1/5 of their harvest. As 9-star powerhouses, they arrived at the fallen serpent lands almost at the same time, but their harvest was terrible. However, with bad luck, there would naturally be good luck. In the fallen serpent lands, as long as one could endure the loneliness, there would always be a time to turn things around. That is? Magic Flute, who had been cursing, suddenly had his eyes lit up. His ferocious face was shocked, and he was ecstatic. Found it. Haha, I finally found it. Chapter 2032. The gigantic tree crown, the deeply rooted tree trunk, was like a piece of steel. The area it occupied was extremely huge, with no end in sight, completely covering the sky. This was its territory. Powerful blood demon tree. It is truly a powerful blood demon tree. Ha 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 ha. Magic Flute suppressed the ecstasy in his heart. He was different from Yen Faoyang and Bai Kuang. This time he entered the chaotic void specifically for the Blood Demon Tree. Because he was from the Demon Clan, he was naturally compatible with the darkness, and trained in the Tao of Oblivion. The Blood Demon Origin Heart was like a sacred item to him. He only needed one. It could allow his strength to undergo a complete change. Blood Meridian's upgrade, the Tao of Oblivion Metamorphoses. Magic Flute was confident, even if it was a normal Blood Demon Origin Heart, it could raise his ranking from 49th to 30th, and if it was a powerful Blood Demon Origin Heart, top 30, or even top 20, it is possible. Magic Flute's eyes widened greed and ecstasy. My luck is so good that it's about to explode. Ever since Lin Feng was heavily injured and humiliated, Magic Flute had been walking on a path of bad luck, and now that he had finally exhaled, the unhappiness in his heart dissipated. He had only entered the Blood Demon Tree for 100 years, and had already met the Blood Demon Tree, much earlier than expected, and it was a powerful Blood Demon Tree. A newly evolved and powerful Blood Demon Tree. The heavens are helping me. Magic Flute's face was flushed red. In terms of strength, he could not even kill a normal Blood Demon Tree. But it was different to come prepared. The Blood Demon Tree had too many weaknesses. Its biggest weakness was that it was unable to move, like a target standing there, unable to even dodge. Magic Flute had done a lot of research, and had prepared for more than 10 eras, exhausting all of his wealth before he was prepared. To kill the Blood Demon Tree, it was not easy, but it was not that difficult either. Using its weakness, adding on its own strength, it was completely possible. Poison. Nibble at its roots, first stop its energy from recovering, nibble at it bit by bit. Magic Flute's gaze was ruthless. He took out a small white bottle, it was not even 10 centimeters long, and opened the bottle cap. A warm and fragrant smell spread out. An inheritance treasure from the chaotic void. Immortals are hard to save. One bottle costs 5 billion space crystals. Magic Flute clenched his teeth. How expensive! Just this small bottle of immortal disaster had cost him years of savings. Even if it was just a tiny drop, it would be difficult for even a deity to save him. However, this was only for ordinary powerhouses. For martial artists with powerful vitality, a small drop or even a dozen drops would not be enough. However, to the Murloc tree, which had an extremely powerful life force, even an entire bottle wouldn't be able to kill it. However, even though it couldn't kill the Murloc tree, it could still deplete its energy and prevent it from recovering. This is just a Murloc tree that has just reached the powerful level. It is still an ordinary Murloc tree. Although its attack can cover a large area, its one-sided attack is weak. It can't do anything to me. Magic Flute's mind was extremely clear, and in a split second, he drilled into the ground. Poison. How would an ordinary 9-star martial artist give you the chance to poison the ground so blatantly? Only the poison spider tree could not move. Its roots could attack, and ordinary 8-star martial artists could not get close to it. But Magic Flute was a 9-star martial artist. It was difficult to kill the poison tree, but it was not difficult to poison it. It's working. Magic Flute opened his eyes wide. Seeing the complex roots of the poison spider tree turning red as though it was dyed in blood, he could not help but laugh out loud. At this moment, the ground was shaking violently. The powerful poison spider tree was enraged, releasing a terrifying life force. Chi! Chi! Whoosh! Countless roots attacked Magic Flute like chains. It was as though a few 9-star martial artists were attacking at the same time. In such a narrow space, ordinary martial artists would not be able to defend against it. But Magic Flute, who came prepared, would not be trapped so easily. He laughed coldly and attacked with his claws. You want to kill me? Stop dreaming. Go and die. Magic Flute had the blood of the demon clan flowing in his body. Seeing that the powerful poison spider tree was poisoned, the more it attacked, the faster the poison would spread. Magic Flute could not wait for it to attack. In a secluded valley in the fallen Serpent Lands, surrounded by trees, flowers were blooming, the fragrance was strong. Although it was a void land, the unique environment of the poison spider tree made it look like a fairyland. Although there were no heaven and earth fruits here, as a place to train, it was peaceful and pleasant. It made people feel comfortable and relaxed. After the trade with Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang, Lin Feng did not search for more heaven and earth fruit. He knew when to stop. He would not put too much energy into searching for treasures. He already had enough heaven and earth fruit. The most important thing now was to absorb and refine them, turning them into his own strength and directly increasing his strength. Although he could absorb them while searching for treasures, the efficiency was far from it. Hua Hua, his body was shining brightly, his skin was filled with a holy aura. The tyrannical energy qi flowed around his body and was absorbed by Lin Feng, turning into his own strength. Every heaven and earth fruit was priceless. But right now, Lin Feng was absorbing them one by one like wild fruit. The huge energy quickly increased Lin Feng's physique. Every day, every year, the increase was visible to the naked eye. Compared to when he first entered the void, Lin Feng's current physique was many times stronger. However, this was far from the limit. When he was an 8-star expert, Lin Feng's physique had reached the limit. Therefore, after breaking through the limit of 9 stars, the increase was huge. Right now, his body was absorbing energy hungrily, causing Lin Feng's strength to increase day by day. In another 30 years, I should be able to absorb all these heaven and earth fruits. At that time, my battle prowess will increase by at least 3 times. My chances of killing that powerful malevolent tree will increase to about 30%. Lin Feng was not very confident because he knew very well how durable the powerful malevolent tree was. Last time, he did not even know if he had already pushed it to its limit. However, even if it did not work this time, there would be a next time. If the next time did not work, there would be a next time. There would always be a chance. Suddenly, Lin Feng opened his eyes. A ray of light shot out from his eyes, carrying a surprised expression. There's actually a second person who has found the powerful bloodthirsty tree and is attacking it? Lin Feng had placed secret light guardians there. Naturally, he was aware of the powerful poison tree's every move. Right now, the surrounding auras were chaotic, and the changes in the spatial energy were extremely intense. The sounds of battle could be heard faintly. It was obvious that there was a battle. Impossible. Is there someone here who can fight against the powerful poison tree? Lin Feng stood up with a trace of doubt. Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang's figures suddenly appeared in his mind. He shook his head. Their strength was not enough to fight against the powerful poison tree. Controlling the secret light guardians to get closer, Lin Feng's expression became more and more serious. Then, he witnessed the battle in the distance with his own eyes, as well as the auras and energy of both parties. Magic flute? Lin Feng was surprised. Chapter 2033. Lin Feng was truly surprised. If it was Yan Faoyang who was fighting with the powerful blood rain tree, he might not be so surprised, since Yan Faoyang was ranked higher than Magic Flute on the Origin Enlighten board, and was from the Emperor's Star Tower. He might have hidden some powerful trump cards. But Magic Flute, Lin Feng had fought with him before, and was very clear of his strength. Magic Flute might be stronger than Bai Kuang by a bit, but in a real fight, he could not be compared to Yan Faoyang, and the Origin Enlighten board was enough to prove it. With his strength, he could not even win against the ordinary blood rain tree, much less the powerful blood rain tree. What method did he use? Lin Feng could only feel the ripples and qi of the battle through the secret light guardian, and was unable to see the battle scene. If the secret light guardian was too close, it would attract Magic Flute's attention, and with his strength, killing the secret light guardian would be easy, and Lin Feng was not willing to take the risk. It was not that he could not bear to part with the secret light guardian, but once the secret light guardian was killed, it would be troublesome to find the powerful blood rain tree. The power of the powerful blood rain tree seems to be much weaker than when it fought with me. Its chi is somewhat unstable, as though it is very weak. What happened? Lin Feng did not understand. He wasn't sure about the other powerful luofeng trees, but he had fought against this powerful luofeng tree before. For 3 days and 3 nights, he couldn't do anything to it. Not only was its defense powerful, but its endurance was also formidable. Every time it was injured, it would be able to recover immediately. Even if it was heavily injured, as long as it was given a bit of time, it would be able to recover in a blink of an eye, just like a roly-poly toy. Unless your strength was strong enough to directly destroy it, you would not be able to kill it no matter how many times you attacked it. Because this was its territory. The blood rain tree had given it nourishment to grow, and had given it the ability to settle down and live. To kill it here was too difficult. After observing for close to half an hour, although Lin Feng found many suspicious clues, he was still unable to make an accurate judgment. No, the distance is too far. Lin Feng sighed and frowned. From here to where the powerful blood rain tree is, at light speed, it would take about 12 days. At my current full speed, although the suppression of the fallen venomous land is great, 1.5 times the speed of light shouldn't be a problem. Traveling at 1.5 times the speed of light was not a problem for him. However, if they were only traveling, they would destroy the surrounding space, and they would be suppressed by the fallen serpent danger zone. They would not be able to do anything else, such as searching for treasures, exploring secret realms, or searching for Void Gate. I'll be there in 8 days. The battle shouldn't be over so soon. Lin Feng quickly made his decision. What you hear may be false, but seeing is believing. What methods did Magic Flute use? He would know clearly when he arrived. Lin Feng had long regarded this powerful Lui Yi tree as his own. As long as he had enough power, he would kill it and obtain the powerful Lui Yi Yuan Xian. How could he allow Magic Flute to interfere? Don't let me catch you. I let you get away last time. If I run into you again this time, then you're out of luck. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The wings of warmth on his back instantly enveloped his entire body as he transformed into a beam of light that tore through space and accelerated. Go and die. Ha ha ha, what bullshit powerful Lui Yi tree. Can't even withstand a single blow, it can't even withstand a single blow. Awesome. Magic Flute laughed weirdly, attacking and dodging at the same time. He was not stupid. Fighting against the powerful Lui Yi tree? Unless he had nothing better to do. A skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the powerful Lui Yi tree was hit by a mortal disaster, its strength was only weakened by a portion. If they were to fight head-on, Magic Flute would definitely lose. What he needed to do was to drag time. Idiot, attack to your heart's content. To be able to become a 9-star martial artist, none of them were easy to deal with. Magic Flute was not one to be trifled with. On the day of the battle with Lin Feng, he had just suffered a loss and had already left without caring about his face. He would not fight a battle that he was not confident in. Although the Lui Yi tree was strong, it had many weaknesses. Firstly, it was unable to move, so Magic Flute could successfully poison it. Secondly, the Lui Yi tree only had a simple consciousness. Even if it was a powerful Lui Yi tree, its consciousness was at most at the level of a child. Only by becoming the Lui Yi tree king would it have a normal consciousness. Heaven had bestowed the Lui Yi tree with extraordinary talents and abilities, and would naturally deprive it of other abilities. The more it attacked, the faster the poison would spread. If it was a human martial artist, he would not continue to attack crazily. But the powerful Lui Yi tree did not understand. It only had a simple ability to differentiate and act instinctively. The demon clan in front of it had entered its territory and attacked it. It naturally had to retaliate. Luckily, the Lui Yi tree had a strong life force and was huge in size. So even if immortal disaster's poison spread out, it would only reach a pitiful amount. After all, its Louis Yuan heart had already evolved. The powerful Louis E tree's size was 10 times bigger than the ordinary Louis E tree. If it was an ordinary Louis E tree, it would have been killed. But this powerful Louis E tree was still stubbornly resisting. This idiot can really take a beating. Although Magic Flute laughed weirdly, he was secretly cursing in his heart. He had already dragged on with the Louis E tree for a total of 7 days. Although the powerful Louis E tree could not replenish its energy and was constantly attacking, it was still alive. Just that its life force was already very weak. As expected of the powerful Louis E tree. If it really relied on normal methods, who would be able to kill it? Magic Flute sighed. If not for immortal disaster's poison, he would have run as far as he could. But now the powerful Louis Yuan heart will soon be mine. Magic Flute's demonic eyes flashed. He could not hide the excitement in his heart. He could see that the powerful Louis E tree was already at the end of its rope and could die any time. At that time, he would be able to kill it effortlessly and take away the powerful Louis Yuan heart. His strength would be able to increase by a huge level. Demonic Blade King? Humph, I will make you a crippled Blade King. Magic Flute laughed weirdly and attacked the powerful Louis E tree again. He already had victory in his hands and was just waiting for the battle to end. Seems like he used some special methods. Lin Feng stood in the shade of a huge tree. With his strength and spirit, he concealed his chi and Magic Flute could not sense him. But if he were to make a move, it would be different. He came prepared. He is smart. Lin Feng could not help but laugh. Using a special method to suppress the recovery of the powerful Louis E tree, then using its weak point to attack and deplete its strength. Finally, he unleashed a thunderous attack. The entire process was interlinked and was perfect. Lin Feng approved of Magic Flute's plan. With Magic Flute's strength, he was far from being able to spy on the powerful Louis E tree. But he had already done it and was just waiting for the final attack. Extremely powerful. Lin Feng had already arrived 2 days ago. But he did not attack and only observed from the side. Lin Feng was not anxious. To him, regardless of whether it was the powerful Louis E tree or Magic Flute, they were already in his bag. It has exploded. Lin Feng looked at Magic Flute, who had already unleashed his secret technique, and could not help but laugh. Chapter 2034. Magic Flute exploded. His bloodthirsty madness was different from when he was fighting with Lin Feng when he only burned 10%. This time, he burned 50%, and it continued to intensify. If it was an ordinary tree, Magic Flute was confident that burning 20% would be enough. But the powerful tree, 50% was not enough. 60%, 70%, 80%. Magic Flute was getting crazier and crazier. After suppressing it for 10 days, the energy that he had accumulated for 10 days exploded at that moment. Although the powerful tree was already spent, and its consciousness was not high, but when the remaining energy was not enough to attack, it would naturally stop. At that moment, the powerful tree was almost a target, but it was not too far off. No matter how weak its defense was, it was still comparable to an ordinary tree. Only when Magic Flute burned his blood and reached the attack power of a high-level deity, could he break through its defense. A normal 9-star martial artist could not kill the powerful tree. Die! Magic Flute's eyes were blood-red, endless darkness intertwined with the vigorous power of lightning, crazily tearing apart the powerful tree. The leaves fell, and the life of the powerful tree gradually weakened, while Magic Flute's arrogance climbed to the peak. Bang! 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 Chi-chi! The crazy Magic Flute finally tore apart the remaining defense of the powerful tree. The powerful tree trembled violently, the branches were quickly destroyed, and the leaves lost their color, becoming a grayish-yellow color. Jia jia jia! Magic Flute laughed out loud like an overlord. After sacrificing so much, he finally succeeded. and it was an unprecedented success. He obtained a powerful Heart of Death, a super treasure that was comparable to a peak-grade treasure. That was a treasure that even the top 10 martial artists on the Origin Awaken list would be jealous of, and now it was in his hand. "It's mine." Magic Flute's eyes lit up, his demon bony arms stretched out, wanting to grab the powerful Heart of Death. But the distance between them was like heaven and earth. Chi. 100,000 blade aura appeared in the sky, tyrannical and unparalleled, piercing through the ground. If Magic Flute's demon claws were to go 1 meter further, it would be cut off by the sharp blade aura, cut off again. What? Magic Flute was shocked. Who would have thought that there was someone behind him who was spying on the powerful Heart of Death, and the person could hide for so long without him noticing? His strength was terrifying. Magic Flute retreated, gritting his teeth, his eyes full of malevolence. Incomparable anger. He was so close to succeeding, but an aureole just had to appear out of nowhere. Brahma Domain. Lin Feng's hands passed through the multicolored brilliance, transforming into ripples of light that enveloped the entire area. The wings of warmth behind him flapped, distorting the space, and the demon perishing blade in his hand revealed its loftiness. Pung! Bang! Bang! The earth trembled, a powerful force suppressed Magic Flute. The powerful domain power caused Magic Flute's heart to tremble. "Thank you very much." Lin Feng had a faint smile on his face. With his current strength, he only had a 30% chance of killing the powerful malevolent tree, but Magic Flute had helped him accomplish it. A powerful death serpent Yuan heart. Demonic Blade King. Magic Flute's eyes were bloodshot when he finally saw who it was. He was furious. This human was like a maggot attached to a bone. He could not get rid of him no matter how hard he tried. New hatred and old hatred surged in his heart, causing Magic Flute to go crazy. "It's him again. How could it be him again? Demonic Blade King, why do you keep pestering me?" Magic Flute was hysterical. He looked as though he was about to devour someone. Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. "It seems like you provoked me first." Magic Flute was speechless. His heart was like 10,000 horses galloping past. Magic Flute's mind was in a mess. His face flushed red from anger. His eyes were shrouded in madness. The secret technique blood ignition had reached its peak. 100%. Go and die. Magic Flute knew, if Demonic Blade King did not die today, then he would. The last time he was able to escape, it was because Demonic Blade King was not prepared, and he was at his peak strength. But this time, Demonic Blade King came prepared, and would not give him any chance. Just to break through this layer of domain, it was harder than ascending to the heavens, because Demonic Blade King would definitely make his move. Demonic Blade King's blade was too strong. To survive, he only had one chance: to explode with all his remaining strength. Good timing. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The light and dark energy had fused in an instant. Although it was only the 4th stage of fusion, it was comparable to the perfect fusion of other laws, and was completely compatible with him, with the addition of the Light God Mark and Dark Devil Mark. 10,000 submerged heavenly blade, tears of chaos. Lin Feng immediately made his move, although it was not his full strength, but it was at least 70% of his strength. Compared to the first time he fought with Magic Flute, this time he was giving it his all. Not only because Magic Flute was at 100% blood ignition, he had the attack power of a high-level God rank expert, but also because Lin Feng did not want to waste time. The strong Li Wei Yuan Xin was not in his hands. It was best to take it early, to prevent any changes. Light and dark fusion. How is that possible? Magic Flute was overwhelmed with shock. He who was already at the end of the road could feel the endless blade light pressing down on him, his strength collapsing. His dark energy and Lin Feng were both at the great perfection stage, but it was like heaven and earth, not at the same level. "No! I don't want to die." Magic Flute was crazy, blood-red veins appeared on the surface of his body, the endless blood burning made him look like a skeleton, horrifying. Under the blood-red cover, his fighting power continued to explode, but the difference in strength was too great. Lin Feng's current body had not reached the limit of 9 stars, but compared to when he first entered, it had a significant improvement. That day, his fighting power was already comparable to Shi Dingshan, who was ranked 25th on the Origin Awakening list. Now it had completely surpassed him. Bang! With one blade, Lin Feng had already heavily injured Magic Flute. Even with his blood ignition eruption, he could still completely suppress him. Another blade, enveloping the surroundings, the power of Brahma Domain increased, the power of Brahma Domain appeared, the power of the domain was restrained. Magic Flute, there was no way to escape. Magic Blade King, you will regret it. Magic Flute's eyes were filled with unwillingness and hatred. He roared hysterically, his body exploding in the air, turning into endless black blood droplets, falling down like an epiphyllum. This scene and the powerful Li Wei tree complemented each other. Magic Flute dead. Regret? Lin Feng looked at Magic Flute, and Xian Ran laughed. I'm afraid he has some method to spread the news of his death. Extreme Fatal, the strongest is Poison Rose, who is ranked 4th on the Origin Awakening list, followed by Master Chu, who is ranked 18th. So what if I offend him? Lin Feng did not care. Do what you have to do, sometimes there was no need to consider so much. The grudge between him and Extreme Fatal was not a day or two. The current him, other than Poison Rose, looking at the other strong warriors of Extreme Fatal, who else would he be afraid of? Even if it's the second in command, Master Chu, I can compete with him. Xian Ran laughed. Taking Magic Flute's belongings, Lin Feng's figure flashed, and landed in front of the powerful Li Wei tree. In front of him was a Li Wei Yuan heart that contained extreme dark energy. It was easily obtained. Chapter 2035. Murong Yuan Heart. Lin Feng extended his hand and picked up the pitch-black speckled essence wood. There was also a piece of Murong Yuan heart in the contribution tower. It was also pitch-black and covered in speckles. The difference was that the one in his hand was even blacker and had even finer speckles. The speckles were all interconnected, like 100,000 origin point. A powerful Murong Yuan heart. A portion of the 100,000 speckles are already connected. Lin Feng's heart moved. The Murong Yuan heart contained the way of oblivion. It was different from dissecting 100,000 origin points. The Murong tree possessed a unique innate ability. As it grew, it would naturally dissect 100,000 origin points, surpassing great perfection. An ordinary Murong tree had reached the second stage of great perfection. A powerful Murong tree had reached the third stage of great perfection. A Murong tree king had reached the limit of the fourth stage of great perfection, which was 100,000 origin realm experts. An ordinary Murong Yuan heart is no longer of much use to me, but a powerful one is perfect. Lin Feng stowed the powerful Murong Yuan heart away. His 12 laws of light and darkness had all reached the third stage of great perfection. He had dissected 100,000 origin points. However, he had yet to connect 100,000 origin points. It was too complicated. If I refine the powerful Murong Yuan heart, I can directly comprehend a portion of the 100,000 origin points. The powerful Murong tree he had killed had only broken through recently. There were still very few speckles on the Murong Yuan heart. Even so, it was already enough. Everything was difficult at the beginning. Cultivation was like that. For example, the most difficult part of comprehending a new realm was finding the path to the new realm and completing the final 1%. The powerful Murong Yuan heart could help him solve one of these problems. With this as a reference, not only would he not take the wrong path, but he would also take the shortest path. All 12 laws could be used. This was because the Murong tree was not formed through cultivation. It was bestowed by the heavens. The bestowed by the heavens would definitely be the most essential and essential existence. The meteorite stream danger zone. It was the most dangerous of the 7 danger zones. Countless monsters and beasts wreaked havoc. Blood ridges littered the area. It was basically impossible for 8-star experts to survive there. Even a 9-star expert would have to tread on thin ice here. They couldn't afford to be careless. At this time, in a bloody land, where the stench was extremely strong, a skeleton-like hybrid demon expert was holding a bloody fierce beast and tearing it with his mouth. The ferocious beast was already on the verge of death. Its flesh and blood were constantly being bitten off, and it couldn't help but scream and struggle. However, he could not move at all in the hands of the skeleton demon. Master Chu. This was a name that caused others to tremble in fear. He was the second in command of the Extreme Fatality Sect, a super-existence ranked 18th on the Origin Awakening list. Meteorite Vortex, the 4th one. Master Chu's eyes were bloodshot. His cold teeth were exposed and he looked extremely ugly. This opportunity is hard to come by. You must get it. Suddenly, as if sensing something, Master Chu's expression changed drastically. Whoosh! The ferocious beast in his hand was directly torn apart, turning into a pile of blood mist. Master Chu's eyes were blood-red. Skeleton's hands flashed with light and took out a vermilion soul crystal. Crack! The soul crystal broke apart, and the chi above it gradually dissipated. At this time, on the broken vermilion soul crystal, the demon clan's words seemed to be malevolent and painful. Master Chu's pupils dilated, and his breathing was extremely hurried. Louis Zue Danger Zone, Demon, Blade King. Master Chu gritted his teeth and roared. Pung, pung, pung. The violent shockwave destroyed the surrounding area. Although Master Chu and Magic Flute came from different clans, they were like brothers. After all, they were the leaders of their respective clans. They were both from the Demon Clan. When they were weak, they had already known each other. They supported each other and rose step by step in the Extreme Fatality Sect. Although they were not brothers, they were better than brothers. This kind of friendship formed countless times on the verge of death was irreplaceable. Second brother, I have already told you that there are dangers everywhere in the void. It is safest to move with Big Brother. You just had to go to the Louis Zue Danger Zone to find the Louis Zue tree. Master Chu clenched his fists, his body trembling. Blood-red eyes, the tears that fell also seemed to be blood-red. The brother who went through life and death with him for countless eras, died just like that. Crack! The soul crystal in Master Chu's hand completely shattered. His blood-red eyes became white and cold. Don't worry, second brother. Big Brother will definitely avenge you. When the meteor danger zone is over, I will immediately move to the Louis Zue danger zone and kill Demon Blade King to avenge you. I will definitely not let you die in peace. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 500 years had passed. After killing Magic Flute, Lin Feng focused on training. While refining the strong Louis Yuan heart, he absorbed the energy of the heaven and earth fruit to increase his strength. He was not in a hurry to find the void door. As the saying goes, 2 people are better than 1 person. Him searching for the void door alone would not be as efficient as Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang. Rather than wasting time on endless searching for the void door, it would be better to use this time to increase his strength. After all, there would be many fierce battles after entering the land of blood devouring. The strength of the strong Louis tree had already made Lin Feng take it seriously. The dangers of the void turbulence were far more terrifying than he had imagined. One must know that the Louis tree was not a particularly strong creature in the void turbulence, and the blood-devouring beast was a relatively strong race in the void turbulence. Its leader, the blood-devouring beast king, was even stronger than the Louis tree king. And there were 2 of them. It's almost time. Time to go and meet up. Lin Feng was quite satisfied with the 500 years of training. He had already absorbed all the heaven and earth fruits that he had exchanged previously. However, his body was still a distance away from strengthening to the limit. This was even better. It proved that the upper limit of his body was extremely high. He was not afraid of not reaching the peak. He had trained for a long time, but he was afraid that the peak was too narrow. In these 500 years, they should be able to harvest a small portion of the heaven and earth fruit. Let's just buy it from them. Magic Flute had quite a lot of wealth. After all, it was the wealth of a 9-star expert. Just that outstanding treasure alone was worth a lot. It was more than enough to exchange for some heaven and earth fruit. Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang naturally did not need so many heaven and earth fruit. In fact, they had prepared many of them to sell. Firstly, there was an upper limit to their physique. Secondly, they could exchange for stronger treasures to increase their battle strength. For example, secret techniques, outstanding treasures, and even stronger treasures. Each took what they needed. I wonder if they have found the void door. There should be at least 1 or 2 of them. Lin Feng smiled faintly. His body turned into a stream of light and flew away in an instant. Chapter 2036. Haha, my harvest this time is much better than yours. Bai Kuang laughed loudly. TCH, you're just lucky to find a heaven and earth fruit tree. Yan Faoyang snorted. It was very boring to just look for heaven and earth fruit in the fallen prey danger zone. They met once every 500 years and competed with each other to see what they could get. Bai Kuang raised his eyebrows. I can't be worse than you every time. Yan Faoyang said, You're lucky, but you definitely won't get as much as Magic Blade King. Bai Kuang's face twitched. This guy is a monster, I can't compare with him. Talking behind my back again. Lin Feng came from afar with a faint smile on his face. He looked at Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang. He did not have many friends here, but he felt a sense of familiarity when he saw them. Brother Lin, you're joking. Yan Faoyang laughed. Bai Kuang said, We're guessing how much Brother Lin has gained in the past 500 years. A little. Lin Feng smiled calmly. The harvest of heaven and earth fruits was not many, but the value of a powerful corpse serpent yuan heart alone was immeasurable. Ordinary corpse serpent yuan hearts were worth between 10 billion and 15 billion void crystals, and there was no market for them. A powerful fallen prey origin heart was worth at least 30 billion void crystals. If he were to look for heaven and earth fruits, he would get at most 10 billion void crystals. After all, there were too many monks and too little porridge. This did not include Magic Flute's wealth. Adding it all up, he had spent most of his time cultivating in the past 500 years, but his harvest was more than 50 billion void crystals. Yan Faoyang said, Brother Lin is so humble, unlike this guy, who gets carried away with his small gains. Lin Feng looked at Bai Kuang in surprise. Bai Kuang laughed. The three of them chatted enthusiastically. They had not seen each other for 500 years and had a lot to talk about. Including the current situation in the fallen prey danger zone, it was much more lively than 500 years ago. There were 4 more 9-star experts, and the competition was getting more intense. Meteorite Danger Zone, Fallen Prey Danger Zone, and Heaven's Road Danger Zone. These 3 danger zones were the most attractive to 9-star experts. Strange, Brother Bai, have you seen Magic Flute before? Yan Faoyang suddenly asked. Even though he was defeated by Brother Lin last time and escaped, he should still be on continent number 3. He should have entered the Fallen Worm impasse with us, but we haven't heard anything about him in the past 600 years. I've never seen him either. Bai Kuang looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, He's dead. Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang were both startled by this sudden news. They felt a little dizzy. Don't look at me like that. That's right, I killed him. Lin Feng did not hide it. There was no one he could not afford to offend. Furthermore, before Magic Flute died, he should have already spread the news of him killing him. He wanted to use Magic Flute's treasure to exchange for the heaven and earth fruit. Unless Yan Faoyang and Bai Kuang were idiots, they would be able to guess. Rather than being secretive, he might as well say it out loud. since everyone knew that Magic Flute had a grudge against him. "Brother Lin, you're really—" Yen Faoyang laughed bitterly. Bai Kuang heaved a sigh of relief. He was secretly thankful that he did not offend Lin Feng. This human youth who appeared out of nowhere was truly vengeful. Magic Flute had only offended him slightly, and even after escaping once, he was still killed. "Brother Lin, aren't you afraid of revenge?" Bai Kuang asked. "If he deserves to be killed, then I'll kill him." Lin Feng was naturally not afraid. He had even offended the Heaven's Fate race. Why would he care about a mere fatal limit? Yen Faoyang's face turned serious. In Fatal Limit, Master Chu and Magic Flute are like brothers. He will definitely take revenge for Magic Flute, and Magic Flute himself is a member of Fatal Limit. Poison Rose has always been vicious, she might not take this lying down, and there's also the Void Dragon race. Yen Faoyang sighed. Sign up if he offended Fatal Limit, it would be troublesome. Thanks. Lin Feng smiled at Yen Faoyang, knowing that he was reminding him. Some things can't be avoided. Let's not talk about him, right? Did you guys find the void door? I didn't. Yen Faoyang shook his head. Bai Kuang chuckled. I found one. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Bai Kuang said, It's the void door that leads to the Heaven's Road Danger Zone. Are you interested, Brother Lin? Heaven's Road Danger Zone? Lin Feng shook his head. If it was the Heaven's Meteorite Danger Zone, he might be interested, but the Heaven's Road Danger Zone was not as good as the Plague Danger Zone. The Heaven's Road Danger Zone was mostly filled with inheritances and paths that led to the Great Tao, thus attracting countless 9-star martial artists. He had the Ancestors' Inheritance, the Wan Qian Dao, and trained in the fusion of light and darkness. Although it was not the ultimate path, it was enough to surpass the limit and roam the universe. What kind of inheritance path could there be in the Heaven's Road Danger Zone that could surpass the Ancestors' Wan Qian Dao? The first land collided with the Heaven's Road Danger Zone. If Brother Lin were to go in now, it would be better for you to stay in the Plague Danger Zone. Yen Faoyang said, Although there are 4 more 9-star martial artists in the Plague Danger Zone, but in a short period of time, our profits will not be affected. The 3 of them had come early, and they had formed an alliance, each searching an area, so their profits were naturally high. In a short period of time, the 4 9-star martial artists could only follow behind them and eat their dust, at most picking up some scraps, which would not affect their income at all. In another 1,000 years it might not be so, but by then their gains would be very small. Oh right, I almost forgot. Yen Faoyang suddenly clapped his hands and said in realization, 400 years ago, I met Xing Lu's brother. He seemed to have mentioned that he had found a void door. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Oh right, it's the land of blood marrows, Yen Faoyang said. The land of blood marrows, I have never heard of any land colliding with it. If we go in now, we should be able to gain a lot. Bai Kuang muttered to himself and frowned, but that place is too dangerous, there are so many blood marrows and so few treasures. It's not bad as a place to train, but if it's to search for treasures, tsk, it's not as carefree as the Plague Danger Zone. Lin Feng's heart raced, but his expression did not change as he looked at Yen Faoyang. Brother Liang, do you know the exact location? I don't know. Yen Faoyang said. I didn't ask in detail, but if I knew that Brother Lin was interested, I would have asked him to accompany me to make a reservation. Lin Feng nodded. It was normal for Yen Faoyang to do so. After all, he was the same as Bai Kuang, not planning to go to other void danger zones. He had only learned about it by chance, and would not travel long distances to confirm the location of the void door. Is there any way to find your brother, Xing Lu? Lin Feng asked. Yen Faoyang smiled. There is. Xing Lu has many brothers in the Plague Danger Zone. I followed your example and arranged for them to gather once every 500 years to share information. Lin Feng sighed. He had unintentionally planted a willow tree, and it had turned out to be a good thing. The next gathering should be 120 years later, Yen Faoyang said, but I don't know if he will come. 120 years later. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Chapter 2037. In a corner of the Forbidden Land. Hua, in the void, an invisible door opened, and the surrounding spatial energy fluctuated and rushed in. However, the moment it entered the door, the void was sealed. A demon race expert with a pitch-black body and a terrifying aura floated in the air. His hands and feet were like bones, and he was very thin. His blood-red eyes were filled with anger and hatred, and there was a half-moon skull mark on his forehead, emitting a powerful dark aura. It was Master Chu, the second in command of the extreme deadly sect. Bah! Where did those fellows from number 1 land find the void door? Just a little bit more, and I'll get the 4th meteorite vortex. Damn Dong Huang, goddamn thorn! Master Chu spat, the meridians on his neck twisting like steel bars, looking extremely ferocious. Let them fight among themselves. Master Chu's eyes were filled with unwillingness and jealousy. Among the 9-star experts of number 2 land, his strength was one of the best, but number 1 land had a large number of experts in the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list. Previously, number 1 land had collided with the Heavenly Road Forbidden Land, and number 2 land had collided with the Heavenly Meteorite Forbidden Land. Therefore, Master Chu's strength in the Heavenly Meteorite Forbidden Land was quite significant, and he had the strength to fight for treasures. However, as the experts of number 1 land entered, his advantage disappeared. There was a clear gap between the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list and the experts ranked 11th to 30th. Although one was already a high-level God-level expert, reaching the peak of God-level experts, he was still limited to this level. However, the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list had entered a new level of life, God-level experts. Even the weakest of the Origin Awakening list experts, an ordinary God-level expert, was much stronger than the 11 high-level God-level experts. If they were placed in the Great Thousand Universe, they could have broken through the shackles of the black hole experts and become God-level experts or even God-level experts. However, in the special environment of a wandering planet, the suppression of the supreme laws prevented them from transforming. The Heavenly Meteorite Forbidden Land is not my blessed land. The situation is tense now, and there won't be much to gain from staying there. It's better to go to other forbidden lands and try my luck. The first stop is here, the Fallen Serpent Lands. Master Chu's eyes revealed a trace of sadness, and in an instant, anger surged. His skeletal hands twisted into claws, and his body trembled violently as an endless dark aura spread out. His good brother Magic Flute was here, killed by a 9-star expert named Demonic Blade King. He had to take revenge for this. Don't worry, second brother. Big brother will absolutely not allow you to die with everlasting regret. Master Chu gnashed his teeth. Their relationship of countless eras was sufficient to surpass that of blood brothers. Demonic Saber King, there is no such person on the Origin Awakening list. Is he a hidden expert? Let's look for the martial artists in the Fallen Impasse. They might know. Although Master Chu thought that the expert with the new title might have just stepped into the 9-star realm, this thought only flashed through his mind. His brother Magic Flute was ranked 49th on the Origin Enlightening list. How could a martial artist who had just stepped into 9 stars possibly be his match? Only those hidden experts could possibly kill Magic Flute. Fallen Impasse, a deep and serene valley. Although there was nothing special about this place, it was peaceful. The Fallen Impasse was located in the depths of the void turbulence. Even if there was no special environment, it was still better than Destiny Realm. This place was able to nurture a strong life form like the Fallen Impasse tree. Not only did it have the tyrannical Tao of space, but it also contained the Tao of darkness. Especially, the Tao of darkness and the Tao of oblivion. As such, the Fallen Impasse tree that grew in the Fallen Impasse tree was naturally proficient in one of the two. Very difficult. Lin Feng sighed. The strong fallen impasse had long been refined. In the special environment of the fallen impasse tree, cultivating and comprehending the Tao of Oblivion was twice the result with half the effort. But the previous 500 years, and the current 100 years, the progress was still not fast. After all, it is the fundamental training system. It cannot be rushed. Luckily, I have the tranquil heart lake to dissect the 100,000 sources. Otherwise, it would take even longer. Lin Feng's vision was very high now. Because he had his ancestors' Wanqian Dao, he was very clear about the training system. Although the Great Perfection stage was already the limit of Origin Awakening Continent, it was the upper limit of a martial artist. But he knew that this was only the tip of the iceberg. Even the 100,000 Origin Realm experts above Great Perfection were only laying down the foundation. It was like learning a language, and dissecting 100,000 sources was like knowing every single word. Connecting 100,000 sources and condensing them into an all of laws was like assembling words one after another. Different words formed different concepts and were boundlessly deep. Once the basics were complete and one could condense an all of laws, one's foundation would be solid. It's still very early for me to condense an all of laws, Lin Feng smiled bitterly. He would attempt it every 10 years, but it would always end in failure. That was normal. When an all of laws was condensed, it was time for a major breakthrough. It would completely surpass Great Perfection. At that time, any random secret technique would be enough to crush Great Perfection experts. In the Universe chapter, my ancestor collected many secret techniques of light and darkness. All of them are peak secret techniques in the Great Thousand Universes. The prerequisite to cultivating them is 100,000 Origin Realm experts. If the Tao of Oblivion reaches 100,000 sources and I cultivate one of them, Lin Feng smiled. Any one of the secret techniques would far surpass the secret techniques of Great Perfection on the Origin Awakened continent. If they were not good, the ancestor would not have collected them at all. Fortunately, I refined the powerful Liuli Yuan heart and know how to proceed to the fourth stage of Great Perfection. If I were to figure it out myself, I would probably take a lot of detours. Therefore, Lin Feng had not been in a hurry to cultivate the fourth stage of Great Perfection. After all, he did not have enough time at that time and he was not very confident. There are still 20 years until the gathering of Xinglu that Yen Faoyang mentioned. I'd better practice my saber technique. My battle prowess has increased too little during this period of time. Whether it was dissecting or connecting 100,000 sources and condensing them into an all of laws, they were all laying down the foundation. Unless one reached 100,000 Origin Realm experts, their battle prowess would not increase. In this aspect, it was far from being as strong as his saber technique. Even a 1% increase in his saber techniques was a stable increase in battle prowess. Creating a new saber technique was also an increase in battle prowess. My current battle prowess is around rank 20 on the Origin Awaken rankings. I might be a little stronger than Brother Shi, but not by much. Lin Feng knew very well that after entering the chaotic void, his body had improved more, and his cultivation had increased more slowly. For 9-star experts, the increase in cultivation was the key. The body was secondary. However, a solid foundation meant a higher limit in the future. I hope I can enter the land of the Bloody Marrows by then. I can't be late, Lin Feng thought. If he was late by another 500 years, entering the Bloody Marrows lair would be a wasted trip. Chapter 2038. 20 years passed quickly. Lin Feng had only cultivated 10,000 annihilation for a short while before it ended. For someone like him in the saber realm, it took him a long time to comprehend each saber technique. It was still a long way to go from 99% to 100% saber mastery. Techniques are easy to comprehend, but saber techniques are difficult to improve. Especially the last threshold of saber mastery. I might only be able to break through after experiencing a life-and-death battle. There shouldn't be any chances in the fallen leaf danger zone. I'll have to enter the bloody centipede land. The strongest in the fallen leaf danger zone was the powerful fallen leaf trees. It might be dangerous for other Origin Awakening list experts, but for him, even if he couldn't win, he could still survive. It was very difficult to improve his strength in such a battle without any tempering effect. In a battle, only when one was evenly matched, and in a life-and-death battle could there be a big breakthrough. There were great mysteries in life and death. I hope my luck is better this time. Otherwise, I'll have to wait another 500 years. Lin Feng thought to himself. The Emperor's Star Tower's Yen Faoyang and the others gathered once every 500 years. Therefore, if that expert wasn't here this time, he would have to wait for the next gathering. After all, this gathering was voluntary. It was fine to come or not. Some experts had explored very far, some were in secret realms, and some were in critical periods of cultivation. They might not return. Generally speaking, the chances were 50-50. Not here? Lin Feng was surprised and frowned. This was not good news for him. If he waited another 500 years, the changes would be too great. At that time, even if he could enter the bloody centipede land and the bloody centipede nest, it would be a wasted trip. Although the treasures belonged to the fated, they were first come, first serve. Or, he could give up on the bloody centipede land and go to another void danger zone, such as the most dangerous void danger zone, the chaotic void danger zone. After obtaining information about the 7 great void danger zones, Lin Feng was most interested in the chaotic void danger zone. It was the most dangerous place, but it also had the most opportunities. It was more likely to contain the great secret of the chaotic void. This was because it was the oldest and largest void fragment. It contained unique life forms and thousands of races. It was only after he obtained the Bloody Centipede token that he changed his target to the Bloody Centipede land. Haha, Yen Faoyang laughed heartily and teased, "This is the first time I've seen the demonic Blade King have a troubled time." Lin Feng looked at Yen Faoyang and saw the teasing expression in his eyes. "You lied to me?" Yen Faoyang shook his head. "No, Ahu didn't come." Ahu was the 8-star expert that Yen Faoyang had mentioned, who had seen the void door in the land of bloody marrows. However, Ahu wasn't acting alone that day. He and the Qi brothers, Qi Yinqing, were training together. They also discovered the void gate at the same time. Yen Faoyang laughed and waved his hands. "Come, Brother Lin, let me introduce you. This is our Xing Lu's brother, Qi Yinqing. Brother Qi, this is the 9-star expert I mentioned to you before, the demonic Blade King. Don't think that the demonic Saber King's name isn't on the Origin Awakening list. He is very strong, right?" Qi Yinqing was a candid man. He laughed. "Brother Liang, who doesn't know the name of the demonic Blade King in the 3rd continent? Even someone as strong as Magic Flute was beaten to a pulp by the demonic Blade King, running away like a rat. That Magic Flute was tyrannical and insufferably arrogant. That battle was very satisfying." Qi Yinqing looked at Lin Feng with admiration and bowed slightly. Qi Yinqing greets the demonic Blade King. Yen Faoyang was stunned. Lin Feng laughed. "You don't have to be so formal. Brother Qi, my surname is Lin Feng. You can call me as an equal." Qi Yinqing was flattered and said, "I can't do that." "Oh, how about this? Forgive Yinqing for being presumptuous, but can I call you Brother Lin?" Lin Feng laughed. "It's just a form of address." Qi Yinqing's eyes lit up and said, "All right, Brother Lin, do you want to go to the land of bloody marrows?" Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. "Yes." Qi Yinqing said, "I happen to know the location of the Void Gate. I wonder when Brother Lin is prepared to go there." "The earlier the better. It's best if it's now." Lin Feng looked at Qi Yinqing and swept his gaze across the group of Emperor Star Edifice experts gathered, "But it doesn't seem to be convenient. I can wait for your gathering to end." Qi Yinqing shook his head. "How can I let Brother Lin wait for you?" I'll bring you there now. Lin Feng was surprised. But you guys, Qi Yinqing said casually, it's fine. It's just a small gathering of our brothers. We can come again after 500 years. How can it be more important than leading the way for Brother Lin? Let's not delay. Let's go. Let's go, Brother Liang. Qi Yinqing and Yan Faoyang said. Yan Faoyang smiled bitterly. But in the eyes of his brothers, he was not as attractive as the demonic Blade King. See you later, Brother Liang. Lin Feng bid farewell to Yan Faoyang. See you later, Brother Lin. After bidding farewell to Yan Faoyang, Lin Feng followed Qi Yinqing to the void gate that led to the Bloody Corpse Land. The Bloody Corpse Land was huge. Although there were many void gates, it was difficult to accurately find one of them. It didn't require much skill. It just required luck. If you found it, you found it. If you couldn't find it, there was nothing you could do. Lin Feng's luck wasn't very good. But fortunately, he met Yan Faoyang. Emperor's Star Edifice had many experts, and dozens of them had entered the Bloody Corpse Land. Now, there were close to 10 people in the Bloody Corpse Land. Many hands make light work. It's just ahead. Brother Lin, I left a token there. Sure enough, it came in handy. Qi Yinqing laughed heartily. It's not far. Lin Feng smiled. In less than a year, they arrived. Moreover, they didn't travel at the speed of light. Instead, they followed Qi Yinqing's speed. Hua, the space energy fluctuated violently. Lin Feng's eyes shone. The endless space energy fluctuated chaotically with the void gate as the center. It was like a magical space array. Looking at the void gate that led to the unknown, a ferocious beast could be vaguely seen. Its eyes were filled with hostility and killing intent. The dark aura was extremely dense. That was where the Bloody Corpse Land was, the darkest of the 7 bloody corpses. Thank you for leading the way, Brother Qi, Lin Feng said. It's my honor, Qi Yinqing said humbly. Lin Feng smiled. Then, a set of bright silver armor appeared in his hand. This elite true treasure is suitable for you. It's a small token of my appreciation. Qi Yinqing refused immediately. Absolutely not. Take it. Lin Feng directly stuffed the elite true treasure armor into Qi Yinqing's hands. He didn't like to owe people favors. Since we know each other, come find me at the Milky Way's human race if you have the chance. Qi Yinqing's eyes lit up. He said happily, Really, Brother Lin? Lin Feng nodded. See you then. Okay, Brother Lin. Qi Yinqing couldn't contain his joy. Lin Feng said goodbye to Qi Yinqing. He stepped in the air, opened the black wings on his back, and stepped into the void gate. Below, Qi Yinqing looked up, his eyes full of respect. Chapter 2039. The Land of Bloody Marrows was one of the 7 void danger zones. Within the void turbulence, every void danger zone had its own unique characteristic. Among them, the Land of Bloody Marrows was the darkest. This was a world known as Hell. The aura of darkness was dense, and the blood-sucking beasts were violent and bloodthirsty. Its danger level was second only to the meteor void danger zones, but its rewards were only higher than the venerated land. It was the second most dangerous void danger zone, but its rewards were the second lowest. Very few experts would choose it. However, no matter how rare it was, some experts would still enter it. On one hand, entering a void danger zone from the outside world for the first time was not a choice. It was purely based on luck. On the other hand, the rewards from the void danger zones would decrease as the number of experts increased, and vice versa. A large cake divided between 10 people and 100 people was 10 times the difference. As for the smaller cake, although it was only 1/10 of the larger cake, it could only be divided between 2 or 3 people. Moreover, it was because of the existence of the blood-sucking layer. It's like a formation within a formation. Although there aren't many treasures in the blood-maned land, the blood-maned lair is different. Lin Feng learned a lot about the blood-maned lair from Yu Rou. It was the birthplace of the blood-sucking beast. Every blood-sucking beast was born and raised in the blood-sucking lair. That place contained the essence of the land of Bloody Marrows. It was also the region with the densest darkness energy in the land of Bloody Marrows. Although the land of Bloody Marrows contained part of the great Tao of darkness, it paled in comparison to the land of Bloody Marrows, especially the blood-sucking lair. It was a world of true darkness, a paradise for the demon race. What a thick smell of blood! So this is the land of Bloody Marrows. After consuming the void door key, Lin Feng entered the land of Bloody Marrows. The land of Bloody Marrows was completely different from the land of Bloody Marrows. The land of Bloody Marrows gave people a feeling of peace and tranquility. It was a world of heaven and earth spirit trees that made people feel comfortable. However, the land of Bloody Marrows was filled with bloodthirst. Each world had its own characteristic. However, the Tao of darkness here is really powerful. Lin Feng sighed inwardly. The Tao of darkness was so dense that every bit of energy could sense the essence of 100,000 origins. They were also vaguely connected. If one did not analyze the origin, they would not be able to sense the difference. But after analyzing the origin, the feeling became incomparably clear. There are three great dangers in the land of Bloody Marrows: blood-sucking beasts, and blood-sucking beasts and blood-sucking beasts. Unlike the murloc trees, the bloodsuckers' innate genes are not as strong. Many bloodsuckers only have the strength of a beginner-level divine-level expert after they mature. However, they have a lot of room for growth. And beasts, blood-sucking beasts. The blood demon tree was only able to slowly cultivate by relying on the blessings of the heavens. Thus, even though it was a very powerful blood demon tree, its true strength was not that powerful. However, blood-sucking beasts were different. They grew up accompanied by blood and battle. Every powerful blood-sucking beast had countless corpses under their claws. Thus, even though blood-sucking beasts were not as talented as the Bloody Marrows, they had two blood-sucking beast king. Ordinary blood-sucking beasts had one black blood-sucking horn. They had the strength of a low-level deity, equivalent to a 9-star expert. They were ranked 51st on the Origin Awakener list. Blood-sucking beast commanders had two black blood-sucking horns. They had the strength of a mid-level deity, equivalent to a 9-star expert ranked 31st to 50th on the Origin Awakener list. Blood-sucking beast commanders had three black blood-sucking horns. They had the strength of a high-level deity, equivalent to a 9-star expert ranked 11-30th on the Origin Awakener list. Blood-sucking beast king had one golden blood-sucking horn. They had the strength of a deity, equivalent to a top 10 expert on the Origin Awakener list. Secondly, they are the food of various void beasts, blood-sucking beasts. Void beasts that were born in the chaotic void also existed in the land of Bloody Marrows, but there were very few of them. In the land of Bloody Marrows, there were many of them. Void beasts reproduced quickly, and the land of Bloody Marrows was also suitable for them to reproduce. Of the 7 forbidden lands, the most void beasts were undoubtedly the land of Bloody Marrows, but the land of Bloody Marrows could also be ranked in the top 3. There were many races of void beasts, and they all had different specialties. Like blood-sucking beasts, they were divided into ordinary, commander, and lord ranks. However, their battle strength was much weaker than blood-sucking beasts of the same rank. The land of Bloody Marrows did not have any king-level void beasts, but there were many in the land of Bloody Marrows. Although they are the food of blood-sucking beasts, they cannot be underestimated. To me, those lord-rank void beasts are very good opponents. Lin Feng was very clear about this. Blood-sucking beasts might be stronger, but he was usually not a match for a lord-rank blood-sucking beast. Although they were only high-level god-level experts, their battle strength was stronger than the 9-star experts ranked 11th to 30th on the Origin Awakening list. They were stronger than their ranks. Strength referred to the current level of life form. Battle strength was the true battle strength. For example, the powerful Bloody Marrows had the strength of a high-level god-level expert, but their battle strength was only equivalent to a middle-level god-level expert. It was just that their defense was strong and they could endure more attacks. For example, the blood-sucking beast commanders that were only at the middle-level god level might have the battle strength of a high-level god level expert. As for Lin Feng himself, his strength had only just entered the 9-star realm, which was the level of a low-level god level expert, but his battle strength, it was already comparable to a high-level god level expert. Blood-sucking token. Lin Feng took out the blood-sucking token. It was a crimson roaring beast with a golden horn on its head. It was the blood-sucking beast king. Its eyes were filled with endless hostility and killing intent. In the chaotic void space, the blood-sucking beast king was one of the top experts. There doesn't seem to be any special reaction. Is the distance too far? Lin Feng carefully inspected the blood-sucking token and did not find anything strange. It seems that it will only be useful after entering the blood-sucking lair. Lin Feng put away the blood-sucking token. He knew the location of the blood-sucking lair. It was in the deepest part of the blood-sucking land. It was not hard to find. The deeper one went, the stronger the dark energy and the more dangerous it was. In the outer region of the blood-sucking land, there were at most some void beasts and ordinary blood-sucking beasts, but as one went deeper, blood-sucking beast commanders and even lords would gradually appear. Euro's choice is very wise. After entering the blood-sucking land, Lin Feng understood how dangerous it was. The ubiquitous blood-sucking black fog alone could kill an 8-star expert. It was a corrosive dark poisonous fog that would also interfere and affect one's soul. This was the third danger of the blood-sucking land. However, it was not a threat to him. The chaotic void space has been open for more than 1,000 years, and the blood-sucking land has never been hit by a large land. Moreover, the blood-sucking tokens are scattered everywhere in the chaotic void space. It is not easy to find them. Even if a 9-star expert obtains them, it will be difficult to enter the blood-sucking lair. There is still a big chance. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. 7 blood-sucking tokens. Even if he was not the first, he would be the second or third. Chapter 2040. Qi. Qi. The demon-perishing saber slashed through the air, and the dark demonic inscriptions shone brightly. Lin Feng raised his saber and slashed down, killing void beasts one by one. In the land of bloody marbled, the dark Tao was at its strongest. It wasn't difficult to kill these void beasts that only had the strength of an ordinary 9-star expert. Their battle prowess might have reached the level of a beginner god-level expert, but they only had instinctive attacks and didn't have intelligence. Many void beasts could be killed even by an 8-star expert. There were many valuable materials on the void beasts, but that was only for 7-star and 8-star experts. Lin Feng didn't need them. It's been more than 100 years. I'm almost at the border of the outer region. Lin Feng casually slashed and killed another void beast. In front of him, a white tiger beast with a bulge on its forehead roared loudly, and the black air rippled violently. This white tiger beast was obviously stronger and more powerful than the other beasts. It was a commander-level void beast. In recent years, he had encountered more commander-level void beasts. He had also encountered many ordinary blood gluttons that were similar in strength to the commander-level void beast. According to Euro, past the outer region is the hinterland of the land of bloody marbled. 8-star experts can't enter this region. 8-star experts could only be found in the outer region of the land of bloody marbled. They could kill some ordinary void beasts, but against commander-level void beasts and ordinary blood gluttons, they could only survive. The hinterland of the land of bloody marbled was huge, several times larger than the outer region. It was also more dangerous. Countless commander-level void beasts gathered here, and there were even lord-level void beasts. Ordinary blood gluttons would train in the hinterland of the land of bloody marbled. Some weaker ones would run to the outer region. Past the hinterland is the inner region of the land of bloody marbled. The blood glutton's lair is at the core of the inner region. Lin Feng knew the general location of the blood glutton's lair, but he didn't know where it was at the core of the inner region. With my strength, the hinterland doesn't pose much of a threat. We only need to worry about the inner region. There were countless Lord-class void beasts in the inner area, as well as blood-sucking beast commanders. All of them could pose a threat to him, but they were also suitable for him to train himself. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. Although he had to find the blood python's lair, he also wanted to sharpen his fighting strength. Strength was everything. Straight into the hinterland. The dark energy was even more abundant, and the poisonous fog was even more intense. If one's will wasn't firm enough, they would be easily corroded and confused by illusions. The land of blood destruction contained all 6 great Daos of darkness. The Tao of Darkness and the Tao of Dark Demon would pose a threat to the experts. This is... Lin Feng landed in front of a pile of ruins, and he could faintly smell the stench of blood. There were also some corpses of void beasts that had yet to turn cold, including the corpse of a blood mastiff. The horn on its forehead had been plucked away, and the cracked bones gave off a feeling of being purified and annihilated. Divine power, the Tao of Light. Lin Feng cultivated the great Tao of light and darkness, so he naturally knew about it. Even plucking the blood python's horn from the blood python's forehead must have been done by an expert. It couldn't have been a void beast. When he was in the outer region of the land of blood destruction, he didn't encounter any experts from the Origin Awakened continent, but when he entered the hinterland, he saw some clues. This was normal. Normally, those who entered the land of blood destruction were 9-star experts. 9-star experts naturally weren't interested in the outer region. Whether it was for training or treasure hunting, they would at least enter the hinterland. As for 8-star experts, compared to the outer region of the land of blood destruction, they had more and better choices. I wonder if there are experts with blood python tokens. Lin Feng pondered. 7 blood python tokens. The blood python's lair would only open every 10 reincarnations to give birth to the blood python tokens. What's the secret? Lin Feng was also curious. He felt that this was like a cycle, as if there was something hidden. Including the 7 void extremities, each of them had an indescribable uniqueness. There were opportunities and treasures that attracted experts one after another. Was it because of the turbulent void itself? No matter what, I should find some clues after entering the blood python's lair. Lin Feng continued to move deeper into the hinterland. At the border between the hinterland and the inner region, a green-masked expert with a strange demonic aura emanating from his body and a winged men expert with 6 pairs of golden wings on his back were resting. The man and the beast were chatting casually. They seemed to be very familiar with each other. If others saw this, they would be speechless. Both of them were experts on the Origin Awakened list, and their rankings were quite high, much higher than Yan Faoyang's. The green-masked expert with a strange demonic aura was the 3rd head of the Thorn tribe, ranked 29th on the Origin Awakened list, Demon King He. The winged man with 6 pairs of golden wings was the strongest warrior of the winged man race, Qi Zhen, ranked 27th on the Origin Awakened list. These 2 experts, who were completely unrelated, were standing together strangely, as if they were plotting something. We've waited for almost 400 years. Do we still have to wait? Demon King He was somewhat impatient. Qi Zhen glanced at Demon King He and flapped his golden wings. You got the blood python token, but I didn't get anything. Demon King He said, What's mine is yours, isn't it? Qi Zhen said, Forget it. I don't trust you, and you don't trust me. Let's do as we agreed and get another blood python token. Our cooperation ends here. Entering the blood python's lair will depend on our own abilities. Demon King He said, I'm just afraid that other experts have already entered before us and obtained the treasures. Qi Zhen sneered. So what if they have it? This is the only way to leave the inner region or enter from the hinterland. If you and I work together, besides the top 10 on the Origin Awakened list, who else can we fear? One was ranked 27th on the Origin Awakened list, while the other was ranked 29th. One was skilled in the Tao of space, while the other was skilled in the Tao of darkness. Both were compatible with the blood python's lair. They both had the strength of high-tier deities. If they worked together, they would not fear other high-tier deities. "I'm just afraid that we'll have waited for nothing, Demon King," he said. "The one we killed before did not have a blood python token. So what if we killed him? What's there to be afraid of? We can't be so unlucky every time," Chijin said coldly. "You should know that the chaotic void flow this time is unusual. The meteorite vortex, blood python token, and shattered half-moon have all appeared. Something big must be happening." Demon King, he laughed sinisterly, his demonic aura surging. "So what if it is? What can we do with our strength?" "Don't be so sure." Chijin raised his head slightly. "If there's an opportunity, we have to fight for it. If we don't fight for it, how can we be sure that we won't have the last laugh?" Demon King, he sneered. "Forget it. Let's wait." Chijin's eyes were deep, and a wisp of killing intent shot out. "Don't worry. Prey will come to us soon." Chapter 2041. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In front of him was a man and woman with white wings on their backs. They looked similar to the winged race, but their bodies were closer to humans. Their white wings were also very different from the wings of the winged race. The white-winged man and woman looked very young. They each wielded a treasure sword and performed exquisite sword moves. Their opponent was a ferocious beast with 2 black bloody horns and a boundless baleful aura. Its blood-red eyes were filled with killing intent, and its sharp claws were filled with a black baleful aura. Its moves were simple and decisive, but they did not lose their exquisiteness. Blood-sucking beast commander. Lin Feng naturally recognized it. He had seen many blood-sucking beasts in the central region of the blood-sucking land and had killed many of them. Although there were few blood-sucking beast commanders in the central region, this place was close to the inner region. Naturally, there would be blood-sucking beast commanders roaming about. He had just killed one not long ago. The strength of a mid-tier divine realm expert was comparable to the 31st to 50th rankers on the Origin Awakening list, but their battle prowess surpassed them. As for this white-winged man and woman, their battle prowess was roughly on par with 5th Sister Luing. They were ranked around 50th on the Origin Awakening list. However, when the two of them combined their swords, their might seemed to be much stronger. What a strange sword technique! Lin Feng quickly discovered the crux of the matter. This sword technique did not seem special on its own, but when combined together, its might was extraordinary. It complemented each other's strengths and was extremely exquisite. It was similar to the fusion of his great Tao of light and great Tao of darkness. The two different and even opposite sword techniques allowed the white-winged man and woman to unleash their strength beyond their normal limit. They were able to match the blood-sucking beast commander. As their sword techniques became more and more exquisite, the scales of victory gradually tilted toward them. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he sank into deep thought. This fusion was extremely similar to his own fusion of light and darkness. It was incomparably close and complementary. So that's how it is. For example, even if the left and right hands use different powers, they can still be fused together. They are closely connected, but they are actually separated. It's just that the frequency and speed are the same, so it gives off a feeling of perfection. Fusion had 7 basic stages. The 4th stage was a normal fusion, which was also the stage Lin Feng was currently at. The 5th stage was called close fusion. If it was the fusion of the other 2 elements, Lin Feng could have easily stepped into this stage. However, light and dark energies naturally repelled each other and could not be close. Therefore, his cultivation of fusion had been stuck between the 4th and 5th stage, and it was difficult for him to improve. However, after observing the swordsmanship, Lin Feng was suddenly enlightened and had many thoughts. Comprehending by analogy, the so-called close fusion is not necessarily true fusion. It's just that the powers are intertwined and connected. It looks like a fusion, but it's not a fusion. It looks like a fusion, but it's actually a fusion. In this way, it can also be called a close fusion. An idea flashed through his mind. Lin Feng's basic fusion of light and darkness had been stuck at the 5th stage for a long time. It had been difficult to break through because the fusion of light and darkness was very different from the fusion of other elemental energies. The fusion of light and darkness was 2 levels stronger than the fusion of other elemental energies. A normal fusion was already comparable to the 6th stage of the perfect fusion of other elemental energies. If it was a step further and reached a close fusion, it would be comparable to the 7th stage of other elemental energies. This was also the highest level of fusion in the Origin Awakened continent. To Lin Feng, who had just stepped into the God level, this was undoubtedly a great increase in strength. His fusion realm was 1 level stronger. And it's like this. My great Tao of light and great Tao of darkness can also follow the scriptures and form a similar fusion. Not bad. This way there will be no damage. There's such an exquisite sword technique connection. Lin Feng was entranced. Every attack and defense of the white-winged man and woman fell into his eyes, greatly enlightening him. As for helping, Lin Feng was not interested. They did not know each other, so there was no need to meddle in other people's business. Moreover, although this blood python commander was strong, it was not their match. They could kill it once it exhausted its strength. Moreover, this was a rare opportunity. He wanted to study it for a while longer. Damn it! The white-winged young man was displeased. He knew that someone was watching the show from the side. Moreover, this person was staring at them with a prying look in his eyes. You want to reap the benefits? Dream on. The white-winged young man clenched his teeth and shouted, Protect yourself, junior sister. Don't get hurt. And I understand, senior brother. The white-winged woman was also very smart. They had very strong senses and would naturally observe their surroundings during battle. The young man behind them clearly did not have good intentions. If he was a good person, he would either take the initiative to join the battle and help or ask if they needed help. Even if he did not help, he would stay far away to avoid misunderstandings. However, he was waiting behind them, obviously hoping that they and the blood python commander would both be injured. Then, he would take the opportunity to reap the benefit. With an enemy watching them from behind, the white-winged man and woman were even more careful in their attacks. They would rather stall for time than give the blood python commander any chance to injure them. They had to conserve their strength to deal with this sinister and despicable human youth behind them. And the frequency of their attacks has slowed down? That's right. It's more prudent this way. There's no rush to kill the blood python commander. It's more important to conserve our strength. Lin Feng naturally saw through the change in the white-winged man and woman's moves. To him, this was also good news. This way, he would have more time to study the sword moves and even imitate and borrow them from his light and darkness fusion great Tao. A battle that could have ended in half an hour had dragged on for 3 hours. That's it. I understand. Originally, Lin Feng was still a little confused about the 5th stage of the light and darkness fusion stage, close fusion. However, after 3 hours of observation, he had formed a complete Tao in his heart. He was clear about which direction to cultivate close fusion stage. For the current him, as long as he had enough time, he would be able to raise his light and darkness fusion stage to the next stage very quickly. It's about time to end it. Lin Feng looked ahead. Under the continuous attacks of the white-winged man and woman, the blood python commander was already an arrow at the end of its flight. If not for the fact that it still had trump cards, it would have been killed long ago. However, it was the same now. Chi. Chi. 2 sword lights condensed into one in the void. The 2 elemental energies formed a perfect resonance and landed on the solid body of the blood python commander. At this moment it was no longer able to resist. Chi. The blood python commander's body was split into two. Fresh blood splattered everywhere as it fell into a pool of blood. Swish! Swish! The white-winged man and woman did not stop for even half a step after killing the blood python commander. Almost at the same time, they turned around abruptly. Their two treasured swords streaked across the sky like rainbows and went straight for Lin Feng. It was like a sword flying over, piercing through space. Lin Feng was surprised. Chapter 2042. Why did they attack him when they did not know each other? Lin Feng spread his warm wings and disrupted space. He woke up from his state of enlightenment and instantly understood the gist of it. He was indeed in the wrong. He had been too focused on the sword art and had forgotten the basic rules. Typically, when people fought, the unspoken rule was to distance themselves from each other to prevent misunderstandings. However, if he were to watch from the side, anyone would think that he had ulterior motives and was waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. It was not their fault. Space was torn apart. The white-winged man and woman's control of space was rather strong. It was like an innate ability. The disordered space did not hinder them at all. The two swords condensed into a flash and instantly arrived. Mandarin ducks. Lin Feng unsheathed his two battle sabers and unleashed a series of saber arts that resembled a pair of mandarin ducks. The third move of the myriad obscuring heavenly saber was not considered strong in terms of offense or speed. In terms of strength, it was not ordinary. However, the defense of the saber art was the strongest. With Lin Feng's strength, it was possible for him to kill the white-winged man and woman, much less defeat them. However, he was in the wrong first. It would be overboard to injure them further. The two of you have misunderstood. Lin Feng retreated as he explained. His saber arts were not slow at all as he formed an impenetrable defense in front of him. He was adept at multitasking and fusing the Tao. He naturally did not fear the duo's cooperation. Despicable scoundrel! The white-winged woman reprimanded. Her almond-shaped brows were knitted together as her sword arts became sharper. Shameless! The white-winged youth gritted his teeth as his thick brows appeared even sharper. He was the main attacker of the sword art. It was like a gust of wind that swept through space. The sharpness of his attacks was even greater than when he was fighting the blood-sucking beast commander. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Watching from afar and experiencing it personally were two completely different feelings. It was especially so now. They were using all their strength in this set of sword arts without holding back. Every time they clashed, they could clearly sense the surging sword intent and the interconnected sword Tao. Clang! The Parac-Fiend saber in Lin Feng's hand resonated as his fighting spirit soared. The Eclipse Mystic saber was slightly inferior. After all, they were in the Sanguine Corpse land. The dark energy was much more potent. Since he could not explain himself, he might as well fight. Lin Feng had nothing to fear in battle. Boom! 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 In successive battles, Lin Feng first defended and then attacked, causing the white-winged man and woman situation to become more and more precarious. Their complexions turned ugly. They originally thought that this unknown human youth did not have any strength, so they hid outside to fish in troubled waters, hoping to benefit from it. It was only after the real fight that he realized how strong his opponent was. He was much stronger than the blood-sucking beast commander they had just killed. His defense was impenetrable, and his attacks were unstoppable. If not for their higher attainments in swordsmanship, they would have long been defeated in a 2-on-1 battle. Even so, he was gradually at a disadvantage. Damn it, I used too much energy just now. The white-winged youth was extremely displeased. The battle with the blood-devouring beast commander had affected them greatly, especially after the battle had dragged on for a long time. His energy, spirit, and status had all been reduced to varying degrees. If they were in their peak condition, even if they were in their normal condition, they would have killed this human youth long ago. How could they allow him to be in such a state? If they continued to fight, their situation would only become more and more disadvantageous. However, it was already too late to back down. Attacking would not last long. Even if he escaped, he might not be able to escape. Why can't we break through his defense? The white-winged girl's heart was also shocked. She and her senior brother had left the mountain full of confidence this time, boasting that there were very few experts in the younger generation who were stronger than them. Even if it was an expert ranked 10th to 30th on the Origin Awakening list, as long as they combined their swords, they might not be afraid. However, in front of them, this unknown human youth, although they had fought the blood-sucking beast commander, they were still fighting 2 against 1. They were unable to break through the opponent's continuous saber defense. I have never heard teacher mention that there is such a human youth in Origin Awakening continent. He has such strength and is still so young. The white-winged youth's shock was no less than the girl's. To think that as geniuses, this was the first time they had fallen into such an embarrassing situation. Pung! The saber and sword collided, tearing apart space. The chaotic airflow caused the surrounding area to become incomparably strange and chaotic. The white-winged man and woman felt their wrists go numb. They knew that things were not good and hurriedly retreated. They were already exhausted. However, unexpectedly, the human youth who had forced them to retreat did not chase after them, giving up a great opportunity to heavily injure them. Holding the saber in his hand and flapping his black wings, the human youth floated in the air like a demon. Whoosh, whoosh, every time his black wings flapped, it caused the space to tremble and become unstable. His aura was boundless and majestic. You! The white-winged youth revealed a hesitant expression. His heart was already slightly shaken. After the battle, they realized that their opponent's strength was far stronger than they had imagined. Although the white-winged youth was confident that with his and his junior sister's strength, they would be able to defeat their opponent if they were in perfect condition, this human youth's strength was indeed not ordinary. In a one-on-one battle, they were inferior to this human youth. This kind of super expert of the younger generation must have a great background. How could he do such a despicable thing? Moreover, from the beginning to the end, he had not truly attacked, only defended. An expert naturally could not only defend. From his saber techniques, it could be assumed that he was proficient in close combat. All these were enough to explain. They had really misunderstood this human youth in front of them. Sorry, I was a little fascinated by your sword techniques just now and forgot to retreat, Lin Feng said apologetically with a smile. It's okay. The white-winged youth was a little embarrassed and smiled awkwardly. It was a misunderstanding before. No discord, no concord. Hello, I am Scholar Qing Ying's disciple, Yi Jian. This is my junior sister, Yi Xian. Hello. The white-winged girl, Yi Xian, also greeted somewhat cautiously. Milky Way's human clan, Lin Feng, hello. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. His expression was calm, without any change. Yi Jian and Yi Xian looked at each other, understanding each other's expressions. The background of this Milky Way's human clan youth named Lin Feng in front of them was obviously not small. He was not the least bit moved by their teacher's reputation. It had to be known that although their teacher, Scholar Qing Ying, had long lived in seclusion in the mountains, which expert on the Origin Awakening list did not know their teacher. He was a super expert who was ranked in the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list all year round. Combined with Lin Feng's age and strength, Yi Jian and Yi Xian knew that such an expert could only be befriended and could not be offended. Before they went down the mountain, their teacher had warned them that there was always someone better than them, and that they should not be arrogant and self-satisfied. Previously they did not take it seriously, but now they knew that their teacher's words were like pearls. Yi Jian and Yi Xian did not know that Lin Feng did not know Scholar Qing Ying at all. He did not even know all the experts on the Origin Awakening list, so how could he know the super experts of the previous era who lived in seclusion? Chapter 2043. No discord, no concord. The three quickly became familiar with each other. Although Lin Feng did not know much about hidden experts, the strength of Yi Jian and Yi Xian, these two brother and sister disciples, was not bad. Moreover, they were pure-hearted. Although they were 9-star experts, they were inexperienced. Are you going to enter the blood-maned lair? Lin Feng was startled. Yes, Brother Lin. Yi Jian's hand flashed, and he took out the blood-maned token with the blood-maned Beast King's roar. Actually, not long after we came to the turbulent void, we got this by chance. At first, we didn't know what it was. Later, we asked others and found out. Lin Feng smiled. They were quite calm. After all, they were 9-star experts with hidden experts behind them. No force was willing to provoke them, not to mention that their strength was not bad. They did not need to guard against others because they had enough capital. Yuro, on the other hand, was different. Even if she tried to hide it, she would still be spied on by others. To put it bluntly, it could be described in 2 words. Strength. I'm also going to the blood-maned lair. Lin Feng also took out the blood-maned token and showed it. Since they trusted him, he felt embarrassed to hide it. It's really the blood-maned token. Yi Jian's eyes lit up, and then he looked at his junior sister. Unfortunately, we only have one. Junior sister can't go in. As he spoke, he looked at Lin Feng with eager eyes. Lin Feng knew what Yi Jian meant. He laughed involuntarily. Everything else can be discussed, but not the blood-maned token. I came all the way here for the blood-maned lair. Can we use other treasures to exchange with you, Brother Lin? Yi Jian said. Yes, we have many treasures. Yixian flapped her white wings and said expectantly. Lin Feng smiled. The two were honest, not caring that their treasures would attract people's attention. However, even if they did not say it, he knew that they must have many treasures. Just the white wings behind them were excellent true treasures, and they were 2 identical excellent true treasures. Moreover, their swords were also excellent true treasures. Each of them had 2 outstanding true treasures, which was quite impressive. As wealthy as the Milky Way's human race was, second brother was the deputy patriarch and ranked 25th on the Origin Awakening list. Even so, he only had 2 outstanding true treasures. Generally, those ranked 30th to 50th on the Origin Awakening list would only have 1 outstanding true treasure at most. Moreover, Yi Jian and Yixian had entered at the beginning of the chaotic void. At that time, they had obtained the most benefits from the outside. Their own strength was also not bad, so they had obtained many strange treasures. I'm sorry, but I really can't sell the blood-sucking token, Lin Feng said. Since he had already come all the way here, there was no way he was going to give up just like that. Even if he were to offer an outstanding artifact in exchange, he would not agree to it. Compared to treasures, these secret treasure lands that were hard to find usually held great opportunities. Besides, he didn't lack superior supreme treasures. Yi Jian and Yixian looked at each other, showing disappointment. Since that's the case, we can't force you. Bright Sword said, this place is already very close to the inner region. It will take some effort to find the blood-maned lair. Brother Lin, why don't we travel together? Yes, we can take care of each other if we go together, Yixian said. Lin Feng looked at Yi Jian and Yixian and nodded. Okay. The two's strength had been greatly damaged, which was more or less related to him. Anyway, everyone had been honest and had the same destination, so there was no harm in traveling together. Great Samsara? Lin Feng said in surprise. Yes, teacher said that this time, the opening of the chaotic void is a great samsara of an era, Yi Jian said. Oh. Lin Feng looked pensive. The Milky Way's human race's records of the chaotic void were not so detailed. Like what Brother Sure had told him, it was only the opening of the chaotic void. The shortest was 3,000 to 4,000 years, and the longest was an era. As for the Great Samsara and the Small Samsara, they were not mentioned at all. Obviously, they didn't know. I'd like to hear the details, Lin Feng said. Yi Jian did not hide and said, Teacher told us that for the opening of the chaotic void, an ordinary samsara would open from 3,000 to 7,000 years, a small samsara would open from 7,001 to 9,999 years, and a great samsara would open exactly one era, which is 10,000 years. So there was such a rule. Lin Feng looked pensive. What's the difference? The difference is huge. Yi Jian's eyes flashed. The opportunities of a small samsara are greater than those of an ordinary samsara, not to mention the opportunities of a great samsara. Various treasures and secret realms will appear, and it will be easy to obtain them. Generally, every 10 ordinary samsara, there will be a small samsara. Every 10 small samsara, which is about 100 ordinary samsara, there will be a great samsara. At this time, many tokens will appear in various void fragments, and many treasures, opportunities, inheritances, and so on will appear in various void dangerous lands. Yi Jian paused, then grinned at Lin Feng. Actually, I'm not too sure. This is what teacher told us. Our teacher is very powerful. He knows everything from astronomy to geography. There is nothing he doesn't know. Yi Xian's beautiful eyes flashed, her face full of pride. Lin Feng nodded. The tokens they were talking about should be things like the blood-devouring token. Yu Rou said that the blood-devouring lair opens every 10 samsara, which is to say it opens once in a small samsara. Lin Feng finally understood. He had always guessed that the chaotic void had a certain rule, but he didn't know. But now, he had a certain understanding. No wonder Yu Rou could obtain the blood-devouring token so easily. There were 7 blood-devouring tokens, and other treasures from various void dangerous lands, which had appeared in various fragments. Adding them all together, the number was quite large. It was not surprising that Yu Rou could obtain one of them. After all, she was the same as Yi Jian and Yi Xian, who had entered the chaotic void when it first opened. The early bird gets the worm. No matter, he could also enter the blood-devouring lair now. Even if he had entered the chaotic void at the first moment, it would have depended on whether he had the luck. Brother Lin, do you know that a while ago, one of the paths to the heavens opened? Yi Jian's eyes shone with envy. The path to the heavens? Lin Feng was surprised. The heavenly paths were rumored to contain perfect inheritances that led directly to the great Tao. Although there weren't many treasures there, it still attracted many experts to enter. This was precisely the reason why. Those who were fated could open the path to the heavens and obtain one of the perfect inheritances. Yes, I'm so envious, Yi Jian said. This is a complete inheritance. Teacher said that as long as you open the path to the heavens, you can become a fish that leaps over the dragon gate and become a person above others. Back then, the Emperor of the Purple Star opened the path to the heavens and broke through the obstacles one step at a time to become an emperor. Lin Feng's heart stirred. Emperor of the Purple Star. The retired Emperor of the Purple Star Tower. Even the Heavens Mandate race was afraid of him. The super expert ranked first on the Origin Awakener list, Yen Fajie. He had opened the path to the heavens and obtained the inheritance? Chapter 2044. There were not many people who knew about this secret, especially since the Emperor of the Purple Microstar had occupied the first place of the Origin Awakening list for a long time. When he became an emperor, the majority of the Origin Awakening list experts did not enter the top 10. However, Scholar Qingying, who was in the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list, naturally knew. Their generation had all witnessed the growth of the Emperor of the Purple Microstar, becoming stronger step by step and reaching the peak. So, he obtained a perfect inheritance in the heavens path, Lin Feng thought. Inheritances were more important than any treasure. Inheritances were a path, guiding one to become a super expert. For example, he had the ancestors' inheritance, the 10,000 heaven path, and could even surpass the limit and roam the universe freely. As long as he had enough time, becoming the first-ranked expert on the Origin Awakening list was not difficult. Truly envious. Yi Jian sighed. If only I had such luck. Lin Feng smiled. Perhaps there is some opportunity waiting for you in the Bloody Corpse land. Haha, thank you for your words, Brother Lin, Yi Jian said. Speaking of which, even if we cannot find an opportunity in the Bloody Corpse land, it is not a big deal. An era is very long, and this era is a great reincarnation. There are countless opportunities. As long as you have the strength, you will definitely be able to obtain what you want. Yi Jian clenched his fist, his eyes filled with desire and ambition. He wanted to become stronger. Yes. Lin Feng looked into the distance, his gaze deep. As long as I have the strength, I will definitely be able to obtain what I want. The Heaven's Path was not something to look forward to, and Lin Feng did not plan to try his luck. The ancestors' inheritance was thousands of times better than those ordinary inheritances. That day, the first continent had collided with the Heaven's Path, and a large number of experts had rushed in, coinciding with the Great Reincarnation, when the era was at its peak. Opening the Heaven's Path was not a matter of luck, but rather a matter of course. After all, the more people there were, the higher the probability. In the near future, another emperor of the purple micro-star will rise. Lin Feng also wanted to see who that lucky person was. Although the inheritance of the Heaven's Path was far from the ancestors' 10,000 Heaven Path, it had one advantage, and that was that it was directly bestowed. Wan Qian Dao needed to be learned and cultivated step by step. The inheritance of Heaven's Road was more about receiving the inheritance information, receiving the realms of realms, and turning it into one's own. Although the upper limit was not high, the lower limit was rather high. Great samsara, huh? Let's hope that the Blood Mantis lair will be able to reap some rewards. No matter what, the earlier we enter the heavenly meteor turbulence extremis, as the head of the 7 extremis, the opportunities there must be the best, the experts there are the most, and the competition is the fiercest. Clan leader and the others will most likely be there. The other 6 forbidden lands were mostly battlefields for ordinary 9-star experts. The heavenly meteor turbulent flow danger ground was the purgatory world of the most powerful 9-star experts. Not only did it gather the most powerful experts of the Origin Awakening list, but it also gathered the most powerful existences of the Origin Awakening continent. For example, the only murderous tree king in the Fallen Sea land was in the heavenly meteor turbulence land. Just like the blood-maned beast king of the blood-maned land, he was also in the chaotic meteorite land. It was the same for the other top experts in the land of extremis. There were dangers everywhere. At the border between the hinterland and the inner region, Demon King He's body emitted a bone-chilling demonic aura, and his green face had dark demonic patterns. He seemed to be hiding in the blood-maned land, not making a sound. Not far from him, Qizhen folded his golden wings and stood in the air, his eyes cold and gloomy. Suddenly, whoosh Qizhen, who had his eyes closed, spread his golden wings, and space caved in layer by layer. The 6 pairs of golden wings seemed to cover the sky. His eyes shone brightly, but his brows were slightly furrowed. Someone is coming. Demon King He's sensing range was not as good as Qizhen's, but it was not much worse. There was a hint of joy in his voice. He had waited for too long. Don't be happy yet. There's more than one. There are 3. Qizhen frowned and said, they should all be 9-star experts. 2 of them should be mid-tier 9-star, and the last one. Oh, I can't sense his aura. He might have an outstanding treasure that can hide his aura. 3. Demon King He revealed a look of displeasure. He and Qizhen had been lying in ambush here for hundreds of years to snatch the blood main token. Usually, 9-star experts would not come in group. At most, there would be 2. After all, the greater the number, the lower the efficiency. But this time, there were 3 of them. Are you going to do it or not? Qizhen raised his eyebrows. His golden wings covered the sky, making him look domineering. Let me think about it. Demon King he fell into deep thought. He and Qizhen had teamed up to obtain the Blood Main Token. The first Blood Main Token had been obtained 500 years ago, but his luck had not been as good as Qizhen's, so he had gotten it first. After that, his luck had been bad, and he had not been able to find a second Blood Main Token. Qizhen was anxious, but he was even more anxious. Who did not know that time was precious? Entering the blood-maned lair first was a great advantage. Should he do it or not? Demon King he was not afraid that he could not defeat 3 mid-tier 9-star experts, but he and Qizhen might not be able to kill all of them. If one escaped, it would cause a lot of trouble. But if he missed this opportunity, who knew how long he would have to wait? You should think about it quickly. They will be here soon. Qizhen looked down at Demon King he coldly. I'll do it. Demon King he gritted his teeth. If he did not succeed, he would die trying. He had a feeling that these 3 9-star experts definitely had Blood Main Tokens. Opportunity waited for no man. Since he had already done it, there was no need to be overly cautious. He was the 3rd master of assassin. What was there to be afraid of? Aside from the Emperor Star Tower and the Destiny Tribe, who had assassin ever been afraid of? If he had to kill, so be it. Okay. Qizhen's voice was cold. Later, I will hold back 2 of them. You will be the main attacker. Kill one first, then come help me. Be quick. Don't let any of them escape. I know. Demon King he's demonic qi began to spread from his body, burning with fighting spirit. Qizhen laughed coldly. They are merely 3 mid-tier 9-star experts. Killing them won't be difficult. Kiki. The entrance to the inner area is up ahead. Yijian looked ahead, eager to give it a try. Soon, he would be able to enter the blood-maned lair and see what was inside. We're finally here. Lin Feng sighed emotionally. The inner area of the blood-maned lair was too vast. Traversing it took a lot of effort. The inner area was not difficult to find. They could sense the general location of the inner area from the inner area. It was as if there was a North Star in the sky pointing the way. The core of the blood-maned lair existed. Outside the core was the inner area. The entire inner area, including the core, only had a single entrance. As such, it was easy to find. It's also easy to use. Lin Feng had long since sensed that there were 2 powerful experts stationed at the border between the inner area and the inner area. Their auras were clearly stronger than the 3 of them. They were experts ranked 11th to 30th on the Origin Awakener list. High-tier deities. Is it a coincidence? Or did they come prepared? Lin Feng's gaze was deep as he looked ahead. Chapter 2045. We're here, senior brother. Yixian seemed very excited. After traveling for so long, they had finally reached their destination. Yijian nodded heavily, his eyes shining. There seems to be a winged race expert in front. Yixian's eyes lit up, her white wings flapping lightly as she said in pleasant surprise, It's Qizhen, ranked 27th on the Origin Awakener list. Yes, it's him. Yijian also saw Qizhen hovering in the air with 6 pairs of golden wings on his back. His eyes were closed, and he seemed to be meditating, sleeping, or recovering his yuan qi from his injuries. He might be resting here. Let's not disturb him, Yijian warned. His teacher had taught him to maintain a humble heart and not offend super experts on the Origin Awakener list. Yes, senior brother. Yixian nodded obediently. Resting? Lin Feng, following behind the 2, couldn't help but smile. Who would rest in the border region? The 2 of them had no experience. If they frequently traveled to the various danger zones and secret realms, they would know that the border region was extremely dangerous. In the Blood Python land, the Blood Python beasts and Void beasts in the inner region had to go in, while the Blood Python beasts and Void beasts in the inner region had to come out. This was a battlefield, and the thick smell of blood alone was enough to explain everything. Moreover, he had sensed 2 auras earlier, one of which was no weaker than this winged race expert. But now that aura had disappeared. Left? It couldn't be so coincidental. Just right when the three of them arrived, it left. Everything was as clear as day. As long as one had some experience, they would be able to sense that something was wrong with the atmosphere. A storm was coming. They didn't need to play any tricks. In their view, it wasn't difficult for two high-level God-rank experts to deal with two mid-level God-rank experts and himself. If there wasn't a grudge between them, there was only one reason for them to stay here and deal with the three of them. The Blood Python command. Smart, guarding the entrance. Kill one if one comes, kill two if two come. If we want to enter the Blood Python lair, we have to go through this path. Lin Feng was very clear. A great battle was unavoidable. Fortunately, he didn't need to bear it alone. He had Yi Jian and Yi Xian. Otherwise, if two high-level deity-level experts were to join forces, he might not be able to deal with them. Yi Jian and Yi Xian's individual strength was not that great, they were only mid-level deity-level experts, and could even be said to be one of the weaker ones. However, when the two of them joined forces, they were still comparable to high-level deity-level experts. Previously, he had killed a Blood Python commander. It had to be known that the average strength of a Blood Python commander was around the 30th position on the Origin Awakening list. However, dealing with a simple-minded blood succubus was different from dealing with an experienced martial artist. Graceful sword, graceful sword. Lin Feng opened his mouth. Ah! Yi Jian and Yi Xian were both startled. Seeing Lin Feng call out their names, they faintly felt that something was wrong. Be careful. Lin Feng's voice suddenly fell. Sensing that Yi Jian and Yi Xian had stopped in their tracks, Qi Zhen, who had been closing his eyes, suddenly opened them. Bright light blossomed from his eyes as his 6 pairs of golden wings unfurled, enveloping the entire sky with golden light. Buzz. Sizzle. Sizzle. Space violently fluctuated as spatial positions were torn apart. Spatial ripples like flowing water appeared in the surroundings as golden wings appeared in the starry sky, vibrating violently along with the ripples. It was incomparably beautiful. Whoosh, whoosh. Yi Jian and Yi Xian's expressions instantly changed. The white wings made a sound and lit up with a milky white divine light, forming a small defensive barrier that enveloped the two of them. Qi. Qi. 2 outstanding supreme treasure swords were unsheathed. Although Yi Jian and Yi Xian did not have any experience, their reaction speed was not slow. They instantly understood what was happening, and from defense to counterattack, they did it in one go. Because of Lin Feng's warning, they did not panic and were caught unprepared. The two swords combined to attack the super expert of the winged race, Qi Zhen. On the other side, Lin Feng did not move. Qi Zhen's spatial array did not affect him, as if it had isolated him. It seemed to only target Yi Jian and Yi Xian, but in reality, Lin Feng was very clear in his heart. Clang! The dark demonic pattern appeared and resonated with the light demonic pattern. The combination now had a new understanding and improvement compared to before. Looking at Yi Jian and Yi Xian's sword techniques, Lin Feng's understanding of the basics of light and darkness had undoubtedly improved. However, it was still too early for him to truly unleash the 5th stage of the basic fusion, close fusion. Even so, the 4th stage, normal fusion, was already comparable to the 6th stage, perfect fusion, of other elements. The 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade turned to dust. Lin Feng immediately used the first move of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade, which was as fast as lightning. It was like a strike of lightning, directly aimed at an empty space behind him, as if swinging the blade out of thin air. But whoosh! A thick black fog suddenly appeared, and a muffled groan was heard. A figure with surging demonic aura clashed head-on with the blade energy. His face was filled with disbelief as he hurriedly retreated. How is this possible? As the third head of the assassins, Demon King, he not only had outstanding combat strength, but he was also an expert in assassination. His concealment ability was such that even a 9-star expert of the same level would not be able to detect him. Only at the moment of attack would his aura surge out. But now, he had been discovered in the midst of his sneak attack. Was it a coincidence? Demon King he did not have time to think, because at this moment, another sharp blade light came straight at him, interrupting his assassination. His body was suspended in midair, and it was extremely awkward. Black prison. Demon King he released his outstanding true treasure, and a ray of light flashed across his eyes. At this moment, a pitch-black ferocious beast in the shape of a cheetah with deep demonic runes appeared in front of him. It roared wildly, and in the face of the blade light in front of it, it suddenly charged forward. Snore! The pitch-black demonic runes cheetah opened its bloody mouth, and the surrounding space was in chaos as it swallowed everything. Its sharp claws even swiped at the blade light without any fear. Demon King he, who was ranked 29th on the Origin Awakening list, was not to be trifled with. But at this moment, the situation was already under Lin Feng's control. Rumble! The earth shook violently, and the illusory figure of a bodhisattva appeared in the void, sitting cross-legged. Sanskrit chants floated in the Brahma domain, and halos spread out like a tide. The ultimate ability of the outstanding true treasure Brahma, Great Brahma, combined with the Brahma domain and Brahma's wrath, the power of both was multiplied several times. The immense power of the domain directly bound the pitch-black demonic runes cheetah, and the blade light instantly tore it apart. Chi! The sky seemed to be weeping, and the pitch-black demonic runes cheetah was instantly cut in half. The strength and speed were simply unimaginable. Demon King he, who was still retreating not far away, was shocked, and his eyes widened in horror. Who is he? How can he be so strong? Demon King he was completely dumbfounded. He had originally wanted to catch his opponent off guard, but in the end, he was the one trapped and completely suppressed. Chapter 2046. On the other side of the battle was equally intense. Although graceful sword and graceful arm were restricted by the domain, they had outstanding true treasures that were unaffected. Furthermore, they had outstanding true treasures to complement their sword technique. It was as if their left and right hands were connected, allowing them to unleash extremely powerful attacks. These two little fellows. Qi Zhen, the winged men expert, was also secretly shocked. He had originally thought that these two were pushovers. All he needed to do was restrict them and prevent them from escaping. Who would have thought that their combined attack would be so powerful that it was almost on par with his own? However, they lack experience and are full of openings. Qi Zhen's eyes darkened. With his experience, he could see through them at a glance. However, these openings were not easy to take advantage of. If he attacked their openings, their sharp sword techniques would also injure him. Qi Zhen did not plan to pay the price of getting injured here and affecting the exploration of the blood python lair. All he needed to do was to keep the two of them occupied. On the other side, He Yao King was fighting one-on-one. He believed that he would succeed soon. Wasn't it easy to kill an unknown human brat? He Yao King was different from him. He had already obtained the blood python token and did not need to rush. However, He Yao King was now and empty-handed. Let's wait for He Yao King to kill these two little fellows. I'll hold him back first. Qi Zhen's eyes burned. Outside the domain, the wings were like invisible winged men expert. Wave after wave of space rippled. It would not be easy to kill these two little fellows, but to hold them back, simple. Wait for He Yao King? Qi Zhen did not know that He Yao King did not have the time to attack. He had gone for wool and come home shorn. Instead, he had been beaten by Lin Feng and had lost his attacking rhythm. The dignified third head of the assassins, a super expert ranked 29th on the Origin Awakening list, was retreating in defeat. Warm wings slash. Streaks of space strangled and bound the space, pressuring He Yao King to the point that he could not breathe. In addition, Lin Feng's saber techniques were like a rainbow piercing the sun. With endless power, He Yao King was in a terrible state. If he did not have a true treasure to defend himself, he would have been killed long ago. However, the current situation was a mess. It was not much better. Damn it! Where did this brat come from? He has such a strong saber technique and such strength. He Yao King cursed in his heart. A human brat is stronger and faster than me. Complete suppression. Although the demon race's bodies were not as strong as the demon race's, they were still relatively strong. This was especially so for the Demon King, who specialized in speed. He could dodge in a small area and burst out in long-distance speed. But now, he was no match for Lin Feng. It was one thing for the young man's body to be stronger than his, but what was even more detestable was that the young man was proficient in all sorts of spatial laws. The young man would strangle him, restrain him, and confuse him, causing him to be unable to advance or retreat. His control over space was almost on par with Qi Zhen's. He was most annoyed by such opponents. That bastard Qi Zhen. He actually gave me the most troublesome one. Demon King he was forced to retreat as his expression grew more and more unsightly. His opponent's saber techniques were like a hot knife through butter. His light energy and dark energy fused together in an extremely bizarre manner. This was simply unheard of. Even though he was experienced and knowledgeable, he had never seen such an opponent before. Which hidden expert taught this monster? Demon King he was already filled with regret for provoking this malefic star and getting himself into trouble. However, there was no medicine for regret, and there was no way out. He could only brace himself and face the situation head-on. Boom! Lin Feng's fighting spirit was high as he forced Demon King He back once again. He was stronger than Demon King He to begin with, and he had the upper hand. Naturally, he would not give Demon King He any chance to counterattack. At this point in time, the situation was already under his control. However, Demon King He was a high-tier god-grade expert after all. Regardless of whether it was his life force or defense, he was quite outstanding. Lin Feng wanted to kill him, but it would not be easy. The defense of his outstanding true treasure is too strong. My attack power is not enough. The Perak Devil Saber and the Eclipse Mystic Saber are, in the end, only elite true treasures. Their power is not enough. After exchanging blows with a true expert on the Origin Awakener list, Lin Feng quickly discovered his weakness: weapons. An outstanding true treasure weapon was extremely important to an expert. Previously, he had not cared because his own strength was there. The Perak Devil Saber and the Eclipse Mystic Saber were enough. However, his strength had improved greatly, and his fusion of light and darkness had reached a rather decent level. If he used an elite true treasure weapon, it would be like a peerless swordsman using an ordinary sword. It would be difficult for him to unleash his full strength. Not to mention the Demon King, even the two martial siblings, Yi Jian and Yi Xian, each had an outstanding treasure sword. Only weapons of this level were truly worthy of a 9-star expert. Regardless of whether it was the Perak Devil Saber or the Eclipse Mystic Saber, they could no longer withstand his full strength. They had reached their upper limit. Although my direct attacks cannot kill you, you cannot escape. Lin Feng completely controlled Demon King He. Before entering the chaotic void, his strength was already comparable to Brother Shi's. Now, he was even closer to the top 20 of the Origin Awakener list. Demon King He was only ranked 29th on the Origin Awakener list. A gap of nearly 10 places was huge for a high-tier god-grade expert. Lin Feng was 100% confident that he could defeat him. Even if he did not have a first-rate weapon, Lin Feng was 80% confident that he could kill him. What's wrong with Demon King He? It's been so long and he still hasn't recovered? Qi Zhen frowned slightly. His space domain was gradually loosening. The attacks of the two little fellows were becoming more and more powerful. He cherished his feathers and did not want to clash head-on with them. However, the two little fellows were like newborn calves that were not afraid of tigers. Their attacks were as powerful as they could be and did not care about defense at all. Qi Zhen was also feeling extremely uncomfortable after being suppressed for so long. Whoosh! Qi! His golden wings flapped rapidly, forming vortexes in the chaotic space. Qi Zhen used his space law again to control the situation. He could not help but look into the distance, wanting to see how Demon King He's battle was going. He's just a fledgling human, yet he's dragging on for so long. Before the battle, Qi Zhen had seen Lin Feng's appearance, including Bright Sword and Bright Tiger. If they had a powerful background, he naturally would not attack. It was precisely because the three of them were unfamiliar and inexperienced that he and Demon King He attacked directly. There were only two possibilities. One was that he was a disciple of a hidden expert who had just made his debut, and the other was that he was an 8-star expert who had just advanced. No matter which one it wasn't a big deal. What? Qi Zhen's eyes widened as he looked into the distance in shock. What did he just see? Was he seeing things? Demon King He, who was ranked 29th on the Origin Awakener list and whose strength was on par with his, was being beaten like a drowning dog. It was too horrible to look at. How is this possible? Qi Zhen's breathing was ragged, his face pale. The golden wings on his back trembled incessantly. His heart was at its peak and he was flabbergasted.